2 makeshift paddles, acquired from the 3 rafts captured earlier that day. With a gentle push against the wall, the raft slowly glided out. Suddenly, Tang Yao appeared anxious. Su Lang, you came down empty-handed. Are we leaving the supplies behind? She queried, her tone tinged with urgency. Do not fret, Su Lang replied with a reassuring smile. I've brought everything. Tang Yao paused, slightly taken aback. You did? Where is it? Memories of the steak and sanitary pads Su Lang had produced in recent days flashed through her mind. Understanding dawned upon her. Could it be that his secrets were the source of all this? Noticing Tang Yao's silence, Zhao Yuman quickly swallowed her words. Outside, darkness enveloped everything, rendering visibility nearly non-existent. Su Lang donned a powerful headlamp, its beams slicing through the rain, each droplet forming silvery strands in the light. After discerning the direction, he attempted to adjust his course, paddling vigorously outward. Observing this, Tang Yao crouched to pick up another paddle, determined to assist. The raft steadily drifted towards the horizon. Time passed, and a group of unexpected guests arrived on the same raft, cutting through the layers of rain. Quickly inside. Move fast, a Fei commanded from atop the raft. His bare chest accentuated by rippling muscles and a grotesque scar across his torso. Several agile figures surged forth behind him, each armed, taking positions along the corridor. A Fei propped himself against the window and slipped into the corridor with fluid precision. He scanned the surroundings cautiously before turning to ask, Brother Hua, shall we sweep through layer by layer? Of course, came the reply, as a tall figure leaped into the corridor. Today we seek vengeance. Bring that brat out. I want him to suffer. With a crackling sound, a figure lit a cigarette, the flickering flame revealing a face twisted with malice. Lu Yaohua, exhaling a thick cloud of smoke. Lu Yaohua boldly ascended the stairs. Upon reaching the firmly shut door of 2201, he extended his hand. Then, an astonishing scene unfolded. The metallic lock within the door creaked ominously as a Fei brandished a cleaver in each hand, standing guard at the entrance. With a click, the heavy door swung open of its own accord. In that instant, a Fei dashed inside, followed closely by the others. Lu Yaohua leaned against the doorframe, leisurely exhaling smoke. Brother Hua, there's no one here. Chapter 35. Reveal everything you know. Lu Yaohua turned expressionlessly towards the vacant door of 2302. It was empty. Without a second thought, he waved his hand and continued upward. The members of the alliance had gathered on the top 3 floors. Pan Yong and Wang Chao had moved to the 32nd floor. Residing across from Boss Luo, Lu Qian had moved into Dr. Zhou's 3102, the only 2 women living together for mutual support. After dinner, Dr. Zhou remained in 3302 to examine Pan Yong's health. Lu Qian returned alone to the 31st floor, planning to rest early. She considered herself fortunate. Her hermit-like lifestyle had spared her from the initial chaos of the apocalypse. Just when food supplies ran low, she fortuitously encountered the Alliance's aid. From the mouths of a few Alliance members, she learned of the tragedies occurring within the building. Some starved, others murdered, and some women abducted to become tools for the carnal desires of men, ultimately meeting a brutal end. She could scarcely fathom such circumstances, and the thought sent shivers down her spine. Presently, she no longer worried about food, and she had heard that the Alliance could craft rafts. In the worst-case scenario, she could escape onto the water with them. Compared to those who had perished within the building, she felt abundantly fortunate. She could survive and do so with dignity. While lost in thought, drowsiness began to envelop her, and her eyelids grew heavy. Suddenly, uncertain if it was a figment of her imagination, she faintly heard the sound of the door opening. Zhou Hui. Lu Qian furrowed her brow and whispered, but no one responded. Zhou Hui, is that you back? Just as she finished speaking, the bedroom door was violently kicked open, slamming heavily against the wall. Her heart skipped a beat as she screamed, ah. Her hair was roughly yanked, sending a sharp pain shooting through her scalp. Desperately, she grasped the hand gripping her hair, attempting to alleviate the agony while shouting, help, help. The assailant disregarded her cries, dragging her relentlessly into the living room. Lu Qian, in shock, ceased her pleas for help and began to beg, please, don't hurt me. Brother Hua, there's only one woman, came a voice. Lu Qian strained to lift her head, a tall man standing before her. He crouched slightly, regarding her with a mocking gaze. There's a college student in the building wielding a tang knife. Do you know him? College student? Tang knife? Her mind raced. But she could not connect these terms to anyone. I don't know. She shook her head frantically. I've never seen anyone with a tang knife. The man smirked slightly. Don't be afraid. Think carefully. An indescribable sensation washed over Lu Qian, as if she were being hunted by a ferocious beast. Her legs trembled uncontrollably, her body quaking. College student? The only young men I've seen in this building are Wang Chao and Su Lang. Where are they? She stammered. The man's eyes narrowed. Wang Chao lives above, Su Lang. I think he's on the 20-something floor. Lu Qian desperately rifled through her memories, fearing that any delay in her response would provoke the man into a horrific act. Leave someone to watch her. The rest of you come with me. With that, the man led his companions through the door. Room 3302. Pan Yong reclined on the sofa, one arm draped casually over its edge, as Zhou Hui had just finished measuring his blood pressure. How is it? Professor Wang inquired anxiously, noticing Zhou Hui beginning to tidy up the equipment. Blood pressure is normal. Without any devices, all basic indicators that can be checked have been examined, Zhou Hui replied without lifting her head. So, there are no side effects? Professor Wang pressed, pondering the preliminary assessment that indicated no abnormalities. I had him do push-ups earlier, and his strength has indeed increased. He continued, stroking his chin in contemplation. This was simply incredible. Li Tai, in a fit of excitement, stood up. Fish from the floodwaters not only can be consumed, but also enhance strength. No wonder he's reacting so strongly. Such extraordinary fish are typically found only in television dramas. Li Tai, who was accustomed to exercising and could only manage 200 push-ups after much effort, found it hard to believe that this scrawny youth, who barely managed 30 push-ups before, could now do 100 after just 2 days of eating fish. This isn't just fish, this is miraculous medicine. However, no one dared to conclude anything definitively. All was mere speculation, Professor Wang dousing the excitement with a cold reality check. Old Zhou sighed, asserting that anything was possible, with the flood arriving so mysteriously. Can science explain it? At that moment, a metallic clatter echoed, drawing the attention of everyone present. The security door was forcefully pulled open, and a robust figure burst in. A Fey brandished a boning knife, bellowing, "Don't move, sit down." Following closely behind were several agile figures, pouring into the living room, just as Li Tai attempted to rise. The gleaming knife pressed against his skin, cold against his neck, causing him to freeze instantly. Zhou Hui screamed, clutching her head, and then a massive fist struck her abdomen with no sense of mercy, silencing her abruptly. The two seated on the sofa, Professor Wang and Pan Yong, remained deliberately still. Lu Yaohua's imposing figure entered the room. "It's you?" Li Tai exclaimed upon recognizing the newcomer. Lu Yaohua surveyed the room, but found no trace of the figure etched in his memory. His brow furrowed as he murmured, "Not here?" "Lu Yaohua, what are you planning?" Li Tai shouted at the man with a tense expression. "Why isn't he here?" Lu Yaohua ground his teeth, his expression growing darker. He turned to the elderly man on the sofa, demanding, "Old man, I ask you, have you seen that kid with the tang knife?" Professor Wang's murky eyes narrowed, and after a brief pause, he replied, "You mean Su Lang?" Lu Yaohua raised an eyebrow. "So his name is Su Lang. Where is he?" The elder responded bluntly, "He lives on the 23rd floor." Regardless of the grievances this band of strongmen had with Su Lang, the immediate priority was to protect the allies. He felt no guilt in divulging everything he knew about Su Lang. They might have knives, but Su Lang had a gun. Who would bully whom was uncertain. "Old fool." Lu Yaohua sneered, "You dare to lie to me? I've searched this building thoroughly and found no sign of that kid." Professor Wang's eyes widened. "What did you do to Boss Luo and the others?" Lu Yaohua scoffed, humorlessly shattering a glass on the floor with a cup he seized from the table. "Now I'm the one asking the questions." He leaned closer to the elder, slowly whispering, "Tell me everything you know, and I may consider sparing your life." Chapter 36. This grudge must be avenged. The night was as dark as ink. Once the wooden raft departed from the Lihua community, Su Lang ceased paddling. He gazed up at the starry sky, where the moon was absent, yet occasional streaks of aurora danced across the firmament. The auroras shifted between hues of blue and green, resembling colorful ribbons fluttering in the night. He decided to turn off the headlamp and quietly admire the spectacle. At that moment, he felt a gentle touch on his arm. It was Tang Yao and Zhao Yuman. They linked their arms with Su Lang's, leaning against him. In the distance, some tall buildings were faintly visible, and the surrounding floodwaters seemed boundless, instilling in them a sense of insignificance. The night breeze swept in, causing the two women to shiver slightly. Su Lang looked up, standing on tiptoe. It turned out that a row of pre-prepared curtains hung neatly beneath the surrounding eaves, each about a meter long. He reached out and removed all the curtains, instantly transforming the raft into an enclosed space. Surveying the area, Su Lang noted the raft was entirely empty. Fixing his gaze on the faces of the two women, he spoke gravely, "What you are about to witness may exceed your understanding." Tang Yao and Zhao Yuman gazed at him, perplexed. He waved his right hand, and to their astonishment, their familiar large bed materialized out of thin air on the raft. "Ah," Zhao Yuman gasped, then hurriedly covered her mouth. Su Lang, can you conjure anything? Tang Yao asked, her eyes wide with disbelief. It's not conjured. Su Lang shook his head, tapping his temple with a finger. I can store items here and retrieve them at will. Though Tang Yao had her suspicions, hearing Su Lang articulate such a miraculous ability left her momentarily speechless. So, all our supplies are stored in your mind? Zhao Yuman asked uncertainly. Exactly. All supplies are with me. If I die, no one can access them. This is my greatest secret, Su Lang said gravely. It must absolutely not be leaked. Hearing this, Tang Yao looked at him with determination in her eyes. Su Lang, we share the same fate now. You can trust us to keep this secret. Me too. Zhao Yuman nodded fervently. Su Lang gave a slight nod, signaling the end of that topic. He had no intention of hiding the secret of the system space, as being on the raft and living together made it cumbersome to keep such matters concealed. He wasn't worried that the two women would act against him. Such actions would offer them no benefit. After a brief contemplation, he said, It's quite late. You both should get some rest. I'll take the watch. The two women complied and went to bed. Tang Yao turned back. I'll rest first, then it'll be your turn. The raft fell silent, with only the sound of water splashing around. Su Lang rummaged through the space for a while and pulled out a dining chair, settling comfortably. The water's surface was pitch black, visibility extremely low, and the raft drifted slowly with the current. He didn't concern himself with where the raft was headed, as his primary goal was not to search for any Peach Mountain. Reaching Peach Mountain would merely mean competing for food and territory. With his points, he wouldn't lack resources, making such conflicts unnecessary. What he truly needed were the endless scraps atop the floodwaters. Once he amassed 100,000 points, he could unlock the 4th level prize pool. He had an intense premonition that reaching 100,000 points would yield unprecedented surprises. Yet, gazing at the dark water, he felt troubled. Collecting items by hand would be far too slow. How long would it take to gather 100,000 points? He opened the panel and sifted through the items in the space. Fishing net? His eyes suddenly gleamed with excitement. After a moment of contemplation, he retrieved a fishing net and an old cabinet door. Su Lang, brandishing a tang knife, expertly sliced 2 wooden strips from the board, then secured each side of the fishing net to the strips, fashioning a massive double-handled net. He hefted it in his hand, finding it effortless to maneuver with his current strength. Eagerly, he positioned himself at the edge of the wooden raft and attempted his first scoop. The results were promising. This method proved far more efficient than picking items from the water one by one. With renewed vigor, he transformed into a diligent scavenger, tirelessly scooping net after net. In room 3302, Lu Yaohua sat on the sofa, his face a mask of frustration. Brother Hua, a Fei's voice echoed as he rushed in. The raft isn't on the rooftop. Impossible. Old Zhou, seemingly oblivious to the knife hanging from his neck, shouted in disbelief. He had personally overseen the raft's construction just that afternoon. How could it simply vanish? A Fei inquired, when was the raft completed? This afternoon, Zhou replied. Did anyone go to the rooftop after that? No. Once the raft was finished, everyone left. Lu Yaohua posed a chilling question. Is it possible that the brat escaped on the raft? At this, old Zhou's face contorted with worry. That's not feasible. The raft weighs over 1,000 pounds. How could it be afloat without the floodwaters rising? Lu Yaohua remained unfazed, turning to a Fei. Do you think you could move it with your current strength? After a moment's thought, a Fei responded, if I lower it slowly with ropes, I could manage. Exactly, Lu Yaohua continued, shifting his gaze to Professor Wang. Old man, where is the boat you prepared? Professor Wang froze, cold sweat beginning to bead on his forehead. That vessel was their last hope. Without it, they were doomed. Noticing Wang's silence, Lu Yaohua gestured towards the elderly woman beside him. A Fei lunged forward. The woman, taken by surprise, found the sharp tip of a bone knife pressed against her chest. Old woman, my patience is wearing thin. I'll ask one last time. Where's the boat? Lu Yaohua revealed a chilling smile, his teeth gleaming. A wave of dread washed over Professor Wang. After a long pause, the door swung open, and Lu Yaohua strode out confidently. Let go. What do you want? Zhou Hui was yanked out by her hair. Release her. You've got the boat. What more do you want? Li Tai rushed out only to be met with a swift strike. The bone knife pierced his shoulder without resistance. A Fei kicked him back into the room. Wiping the blood from his blade, a Fei inquired, Brother Hua, should we pursue that brat? Lu Yaohua replied coldly. Su Lang won't get far. He pointed at Zhou Hui, commanding, take the woman and supplies onto the raft, and use the Alliance's inflatable boat to tow it. With gritted teeth and a voice laced with cold resolve, he added, we must catch Su Lang. This vendetta shall be avenged. Chapter 37 Lu Yaohua. With a splash, Su Lang scooped up another load of debris from the water. He gasped for breath, planning to take a brief respite. He opened the system panel to check his scavenging points. 51,684. After nearly 4 hours, he had amassed 24,000 points, averaging 6,000 per hour. This efficiency brought a slight smile to his lips. What are you doing? Tang Yao's voice drifted from nearby. Nothing much, Su Lang replied, casually tossing the net into his storage before lighting a cigarette. Tang Yao bit her lip, refraining from further inquiry, and softly suggested, let me take the night watch. You should rest. Seeing her slightly stubborn expression, Su Lang nodded. All right, if anything happens, wake me immediately. It was time to give them a chance to grow stronger, otherwise, relying solely on himself would surely lead to exhaustion. He decided to take it step by step, starting with what was manageable. As Su Lang lay on the bed, he soon heard the steady rhythm of breathing beside him. In room 3302, chaos reigned. Li Tai slumped on the sofa, while the elderly woman pressed a bandage against his shoulder, the front of his shirt soaked in crimson. Professor Wong stared blankly at the floor, the wrinkles on his face deepening. Professor Wong, old Zhou entered the room. The old man lifted his head. What is the situation? Luo Tao and Pan Yong are dead. Old Zhou's face was as dark as a storm cloud. What about the supplies? Gone. Wang Chao is dead too, and Lu Qian is missing. She may have been captured. After a long silence, the old man's murky eyes began to shine with determination. We cannot give up. Without food, I will accompany you to catch fish, and we must hastily construct another raft. Old Zhou hesitated. What about Li Tai? The necessary steps have been taken. The old man sighed. The rest is up to him. As dawn broke, Su Lang opened his eyes to find Tang Yao lying beside him. Zhao Yuman sat in a chair, her eyes slightly red. Getting out of bed, Su Lang parted the curtain to survey his surroundings. The towering buildings were nowhere in sight. He had no idea where the raft had drifted. You're awake, Zhao Yuman said, stifling a yawn. If you're tired, go back to sleep. I'll wake you when breakfast is ready. Su Lang retrieved the large oven from Boss Luo's supplies. The two women, refusing to remain weak, shared the burden, which brought him a measure of comfort. I'm not tired. What do you want to eat? I can cook, Zhao Yuman offered. Su Lang decided not to insist further. He gathered charcoal to light a fire. Let us keep it simple for breakfast. Let us fry some pancakes with eggs. As he prepared a skillet, flour, and eggs, Zhao Yuman began to bustle about. Seizing the moment, Su Lang took out the net and resumed his scavenging. He was eager to reach the coveted 100,000 points. After a short while, Tang Yao awoke and joined him. Seeing Su Lang scoop up the debris, she mistakenly thought he was collecting it for some purpose. Unable to contain her curiosity, she asked once more, Su Lang, what are you doing with all this stuff? Su Lang pondered for a moment. It may be useful later. At that moment, Zhao Yuman called them for breakfast. Su Lang assessed the cramped wooden raft, realizing it was getting crowded with a large bed occupying space. He folded the bed away and set up a dining table. While the two women prepared the food, he secured the surrounding curtains. Outside, the torrential rain and flooding raged, but they sheltered beneath the small canopy of the raft, gathered around the table to enjoy their breakfast and drink milk. It was a strangely comforting scene. On the water, a large inflatable boat sped by, towing a makeshift wooden raft. The roar of the engine drowned out the sound of the relentless rain. Brother Hua, we found it. A Fei shouted excitedly, raising a pair of binoculars. As soon as he spoke, Lu Yaohua appeared at the edge of the raft. Where? A Fei wiped the rain from his face and pointed in the direction. Good. Ha ha ha, let us pursue them. Lu Yaohua surveyed his surroundings, urging everyone to steel themselves. If anyone falters, don't blame me for turning my back on you. The men on the raft, who had been joking and crouching, gripped their weapons tightly, a palpable aura of menace enveloping them. In a corner lay some clothing, under which a pale body slumped. Lu Qian's eyes were vacant, unresponsive to the world around her, resembling a lifeless puddle of mud. Witnessing this, Zhou Hui felt a wave of despondency wash over her. Had it not been for her profession as a doctor, she might have met the same fate as Lu Qian. In this apocalyptic environment, even a fool could comprehend the value of a doctor. Illness could no longer be treated with the ease of finding a clinic or pharmacy. Now, one had to endure it with sheer willpower. Lu Yaohua understood this, which is why he disregarded Zhou Hui's desperate pleas. However, when she offered her medical assistance, he acquiesced. Zhou Hui stared blankly ahead, her mind drifting to that young man who had once lent her 2 bags of instant noodles. At that moment, Su Lang was leisurely sipping milk, contemplating whether he could amass enough points for the day. Suddenly, his ears perked up at the distant rumble. Rising to the edge of the raft, he peered out. Not far away, an inflatable boat sped towards them, towing another raft behind it. Su Lang retrieved his Desert Eagle and handed it to Tang Yao. A boat is approaching. Be cautious. After a moment's thought, he also handed a Glock to Zhao Yuman. Take this and act accordingly. He donned a bulletproof vest, then unsheathed his dao and flying spear. Uncertain of the visitors' intentions, revealing their weapons outright felt imprudent. The engine noise grew louder, the silhouette of the boat drawing closer. As Su Lang squinted, he gradually recognized the figures aboard, and his countenance darkened. Lu Yaohua, they survived? He murmured, amidst the buzzing of the engine. The inflatable boat hurtled towards them. It's that brat. Haha. Brother Hua, there are 2 beauties aboard too. I see them, such exquisite women, appearing together. What luck this kid has. Let me lend him a hand. Their crude banter pierced through the rain, reaching the ears of Tang Yao and Zhao Yuman. Tang Yao pressed her lips together, her expression growing colder, while Zhao Yuman shuddered initially, but upon seeing Tang Yao's composure, summoned her courage and gripped the Glock tightly. The distance between the 2 parties continued to close. Lu Yaohua could now discern Su Lang's features clearly. He inhaled deeply. Kill Su Lang. And let the women be mine first. Upon hearing this, the henchmen howled in excitement, brandishing their weapons menacingly. Su Lang stood resolutely, his right hand tensed. The flying spear poised like an arrow. Lu Yaohua, last time you escaped. This time, luck won't be on your side. 50 meters away. Noticing the lack of guns drawn from the opposite side, Su Lang relaxed slightly. 40 meters. 10 meters. Whoosh. The sound of slicing air rang out as Su Lang hurled the flying spear towards a Fei's face. It seemed destined to strike him. Chapter 38. Superpower? The anticipated splatter of flesh did not occur. Suddenly, the spear appeared to be grasped by an invisible hand, frozen in midair. Su Lang's pupils contracted sharply, a chill creeping up from his feet to his head. Such a bizarre scene defied scientific explanation. Had he not witnessed it himself, no one would believe it. Superpowers? Gasps of disbelief echoed behind him. Tang Yao's voice trembled. What is happening? A hearty laugh erupted from behind a Fei. Following the sound, Su Lang saw Lu Yaohua with his fingers splayed, right hand raised. A weight settled heavily on Su Lang's heart. Indeed, it was him. An ordinary thug, who had once been chased to the brink of death, now wielded such terrifying power. Lu Yaohua's lips curled into a mocking smile. Is that all you've got? Today, I'll broaden your horizons. With that, he forcefully pushed his palm forward. The spear, previously suspended in the air, surged back towards Su Lang at an alarming speed. Su Lang felt the hairs on the back of his neck stand on end, his heart skipping a beat. In that moment of crisis, relying on his enhanced physical attributes, he executed a swift diagonal cut with his dao. Clang! A thunderous noise reverberated as the blade struck the spear, sending it soaring high into the distance and splashing into the water. Just as suspected, this fellow possessed considerable strength. A Fei exclaimed, licking his lips in excitement. A Fei, don't be careless, Lu Yaohua cautioned quietly, his gaze fixed on Su Lang. At that moment, the inflatable boat was but a meter away from the raft. Lu Yaohua barked. Go, capture him. At his command, a Fei sprang forward like a tiger unleashed, leaping onto the raft. The raft trembled slightly as Su Lang switched his grip on the dao, unleashing a blinding arc of light aimed at a Fei. A Fei, bare-chested and muscular, faced the strike unflinchingly, raising his bone knife to meet it, resolved to match Su Lang's strength. As the 2 blades neared collision, Lu Yaohua made his move. He extended his right hand again, fingers splayed, and forcefully pushed. Su Lang felt a strange resistance on his dao, as if an invisible force was tugging at the blade. What kind of peculiar ability is this? Telekinesis? Cursing inwardly, he refused to halt his actions. It was one thing to manipulate a thrown spear, but to control his dao? Did Lu Yaohua think his enhanced physique was made of clay? Veins bulged on his arms as he summoned all his strength, successfully breaking free from the unseen grip. Clang! A resounding metallic clash echoed, accompanied by a spark. Feeling the power transmitted back, Su Lang was astonished. This man had not been this strong during their last encounter. Su Lang's arm quivered slightly, but his opponent fared far worse. The immense force from Su Lang's blade shattered a Fei's grip, causing the bone knife to fly from his hand. A Fei staggered, nearly collapsing from the impact. Just as Su Lang prepared to deliver a finishing blow, a robust figure emerged behind a Fei, brandishing a machete. With no other choice, Su Lang pivoted and executed a horizontal slice. This man lacked a Fei's ferocity. The dao cut effortlessly into his chest, leaving a gaping wound that nearly cleaved him in half. The man let out a blood-curdling scream before plummeting into the water. In that brief moment of distraction, a Fei, having narrowly escaped death, regained his footing, now fully alert. He had once believed himself invincible due to the strength gained from consuming fish, but after merely one strike, he recognized his folly. Without hesitation, he called out for help. Brother Hua, As his words fell, a whistling sound pierced the air. Whoosh! A dark arrow streaked towards Su Lang. Su Lang's senses ignited. Yet his lack of combat experience left him unable to discern the source of the projectile. Instinctively, he turned to evade, only to feel a sharp impact to his chest, causing pain to flare. Just as the dark projectile struck Su Lang, a thunderous explosion erupted, ringing in his ears. He lowered his gaze and saw a dark arrow embedded in his chest. Fortunately, he had donned a bulletproof vest beforehand, so the arrow had only pierced the outer layer before being halted, leaving him with a surge of dread. Realizing the gunshot that had just echoed, he turned his head. Tang Yao, gripping a desert eagle with both hands, trembled uncontrollably. Looking across, he noticed that everyone, including Lu Yaohua, was paralyzed by the sound of the gunfire. Fear gradually crept onto their faces, rendering them motionless. The air seemed to freeze for a moment. Did it not hit anyone? Su Lang was the first to react. Flipping his right hand, his tang knife transformed into gold. Gripping it tightly with his left hand, he fired rapidly. The first target, Ah Fei, was struck. 2 gaping wounds erupting from his chest, a cloud of crimson mist exploding forth. Raising his weapon, Su Lang intended to continue his assault, only to discover that the trigger would not budge. Out of the corner of his eye, he caught Lu Yaohua reaching out, and indeed, he drew his tang knife with his left hand and shouted, "Fire!" He had not forgotten the stunned Tang Yao, who still had 2 handguns behind her. Regardless of whether they would hit their mark, the sound of gunfire could create chaos on the other side. A piercing scream erupted as Zhao Yuman fired the first shot. Unsurprisingly, she missed. Following that, the Desert Eagle in Tang Yao's hands discharged, and a man beside Lu Yaohua screamed in agony as blood erupted from his thigh. The wails echoed in Lu Yaohua's ears, cold sweat pouring from his forehead. How could he not comprehend that Su Lang wielded such a devastating firearm? Was he truly just a university student? Panic set in for Lu Yaohua. He extended his other hand towards Tang Yao, attempting to seize control of the handgun, even trying to reclaim a weapon. At the moment his hand pointed at Tang Yao, she realized that no matter how hard she tried, she could not pull the trigger, and it felt as though the gun was resisting her. With a shriek, the Desert Eagle slipped from her grasp, soaring toward Lu Yaohua. At this moment, the panic on Lu Yaohua's face had vanished, replaced by joy and a hint of exhilaration. What of having a gun? I can control it. That day, when he plunged into the flood and survived, awakening his superpower, he knew destiny had chosen him to be the protagonist of this apocalypse. The protagonist gains strength through fortuitous encounters, and the first thing to do is, of course, seek revenge. The Desert Eagle flew through the air, and all eyes followed its trajectory. It drew closer to Lu Yaohua's outstretched hand, the corners of his mouth curling upward. The moment he grasped the Desert Eagle, everything would come to an end. Suddenly, bang, bang, bang. The sound of a Glock echoed, 3 shots fired. When Su Lang heard Tang Yao scream, he surmised what had transpired. Without looking back, he swiftly moved to Zhao Yuman's side, aiming the Glock at the smirking Lu Yaohua. The bullet struck Lu Yaohua's shoulder and abdomen mercilessly, creating 3 gaping wounds, shattering his dreams of being the protagonist. Chapter 39. May I follow you? Lu Yaohua collapsed, his eyes filled with shock and resentment. So close, he had almost grasped victory. If that arrow had aimed for Su Lang's head, or if he had acted decisively to seize the handgun at the first opportunity. Yet, how could there be so many ifs? Su Lang took aim, initiating the harvest mode. The gunfire was continuous, reverberating like firecrackers across the water. The 3 individuals on the inflatable boat had yet to react when their lives were abruptly extinguished. The cries sounded like the lamentations of death. The remaining men on the raft watched as their companions fell one by one. Yet courage to fight back did not rise within them. The young man wielding the gun appeared as a harbinger of death. Fear enveloped the hearts of all. Some began to raise their hands and surrender, kneeling and pleading, "I surrender. Please don't kill me." Others, in a frantic panic, leaped into the flood. Su Lang stood firm, unwavering, as he commenced his precise targeting. First, he aimed at those on the wooden raft. Regardless of whether they stood or knelt, surrendering was futile. Moments later, all the men on the raft had been marked, and his gun was directed at a slender figure. Dr. Zhou? He furrowed his brow before redirecting his aim. The nearby water was teeming with a swirling mass of fish, more accurately, monstrous fish. At that moment, he also caught sight of the 2 men who had jumped into the water, their desperate cries echoing as they thrashed violently. Unable to escape the bites of the underwater beasts, the surface of the water gradually turned crimson, and the fish became more frenzied. The men's struggles waned. Their bodies entirely pulled beneath the surface, becoming sustenance for the monsters. Su Lang averted his gaze, beginning to clean up the battlefield. A pair of binoculars hung around Ah Fei's neck, miraculously unharmed. Su Lang collected them and then kicked the corpse into the water. Stepping onto the inflatable boat, he leaped onto the makeshift wooden raft, first arriving at Lu Yaohua's lifeless body. Gazing at Lu Yaohua, whose eyes remained wide open in death, he silently lamented. Earlier, concerned that Lu Yaohua might not be entirely dead, he had taken the precaution of firing 2 additional shots. He wondered if leaving him a breath could yield any information about superpowers. Beside the corpse lay a finely crafted hand crossbow. Su Lang bent down to retrieve it and proceeded to search Lu Yaohua's body, unexpectedly discovering a world map. Su Lang raised an eyebrow. Currently, he had no means of determining his location, rendering the map's utility quite limited. However, it was better than nothing, and perhaps it would prove useful in the future. After stowing the map, Su Lang proceeded to kick each corpse into the water to feed the fish. Then, he noticed a body on the ground. Lu Qian still wore a blank expression, her eyes vacant and devoid of life. She had been tormented by those men throughout the night. Zhou Hui wore a sorrowful expression. Su Lang fell silent, averting his gaze from the pale figure. The raft was piled high with supplies, indicating that Lu Yaohua had come well prepared. You both have been captured here. Su Lang frowned, turning to Zhou Hui. What about Professor Wang and the others? Zhou Hui hesitated before responding. I don't know. This inflatable boat. It was taken from Professor Wang. Not only were 2 women captured, but they also seized the boat and supplies. That elder who called for unity and cooperation, if he is still alive, must be utterly despondent by now. Su Lang examined the supplies on the ground, but found nothing of value. I don't need the supplies. You can have them, he declared. He was not lacking in food, and extending a hand of kindness was a mere convenience. Their survival would now depend on themselves. Zhou Hui bit her lip. Su Lang. I can. A panicked shout interrupted Dr. Zhou's forthcoming words. Come quickly, it's Tang Yao. Hearing Zhao Yuman's voice, Su Lang hurriedly dashed back to the raft. At the dining table, Zhao Yuman awaited anxiously, while Tang Yao lay slumped over the table, appearing as if she were asleep. What happened to her? Su Lang rushed forward. I don't know. She said she felt dizzy, so I let her sit and rest for a bit. As Zhao Yuman spoke, she pointed to Tang Yao's forehead. She seems to be somewhat disoriented. Su Lang paused, his gaze shifting to Tang Yao, and indeed, he noticed her forehead glistening with cold sweat. Tang Yao, how are you feeling? Su Lang leaned down, softly calling out, yet Tang Yao kept her eyes tightly shut, her brow furrowed, seemingly unable to hear his words. A heavy sensation weighed upon his heart. Could it be that she had been injured just moments ago? She might be experiencing shock. Su Lang was taken aback as he turned around to find Zhou Hui had somehow joined him on the raft. She approached with purpose, meticulously observing the situation before speaking. Indeed, it is a reaction to stress. When one is subjected to overwhelming fear and tension in a short span, the body may exhibit signs of discomfort. Su Lang furrowed his brow, inquiring about the severity. Zhou Hui shook her head, explaining, with adequate rest, she will recover swiftly. It is not serious. Hearing the doctor's assurance, Su Lang exhaled deeply. Thank goodness it was nothing grave. He speculated that Tang Yao's first experience of taking a life had led to her current state. He recalled his own unease and nausea upon witnessing the separation of flesh and blood during his first kill with a Tang knife. Turning to Zhou Hui, he sincerely expressed his gratitude. Thank you. Zhou Hui quickly waved her hand, insisting it was unnecessary. She felt she had done nothing to warrant thanks. She had intended to discuss their plan of navigating both rafts together, but before she could voice her thoughts, a sudden splash interrupted her. What had fallen into the water? Zhou Hui's mind raced with possibilities. She turned to see Su Lang swiftly leaping back onto the raft. She hurried after him, only to find Lu Qian submerged, her head barely above the surface. Zhou Hui's face turned pale as she noticed a swarm of strange fish converging. She clutched Su Lang's sleeve, trembling as she pleaded, save her. Su Lang gently pried her hand away and shook his head slowly. Turning his gaze, he saw Lu Qian desperately trying to shout, but no sound escaped her lips. By reading her lips, it appeared she was uttering, kill me? Su Lang drew his pistol, loaded it, aimed, and fired in one fluid motion. A thunderous bang echoed as a hole appeared in Lu Qian's forehead, her expression one of relief as she began to sink. Zhou Hui's eyes widened in shock, her mind blank. Su Lang holstered his weapon, retrieved a cigarette, and headed toward his raft, lowering the curtain halfway to allow Tang Yao to rest properly. Zhao Yuman obediently followed suit, and Su Lang then glanced at the nearby inflatable boat. The vessel was small, equipped with an external propeller motor, which was quite robust and could serve as a propulsion device for the raft, with ample gasoline available. With outsiders present, it was unwise to directly take the boat into his space. Perhaps he could dismantle it later when alone? As he pondered, Zhou Hui's voice broke through, Su Lang. May I accompany you on your raft? Chapter 40. 3 Fishing Boats. Zhou Hui stood on the raft, her eyes pleading. With Lu Qian's life extinguished, she was left alone on the raft. Even if Su Lang were to leave supplies for her, she had no confidence in her ability to survive alone. Returning with resources to find her allies? She lacked direction. Su Lang not only possessed food, but weapons as well. Where else could she find someone more reliable? What do you mean? Su Lang did not even turn his head. You want me to accompany you? We can navigate both rafts together, Zhou Hui hurriedly explained. In exchange, I will assist you with any medical issues. Su Lang frowned in contemplation, fully aware of the value a doctor could bring, and felt tempted. The only issue was trust. Having 2 boats together could easily expose his secret of scavenging. Weighing the options, he slowly shook his head. No. Zhou Hui was taken aback. Did he not understand the worth of a doctor in this apocalypse? Even someone as vile as Lu Yaohua was willing to make a deal with her, yet he refused? Why not? Zhou Hui's voice grew frantic. You are willing to take them both, yet you refuse to take a doctor? At her words, Su Lang frowned and replied curtly, they are both my women. What value does a doctor hold? Both of them. Zhou Hui's eyes widened in disbelief at this illogical statement. She was a proud woman, and even witnessing Lu Qian's tragic fate before her eyes, she still believed that her profession as a doctor would ensure her survival in this desolate world. Thus, she could not comprehend why 2 women would willingly follow the same man for the sake of sustenance. Su Lang disregarded her further, tying the inflatable boat to the raft. Planning to deal with it when no one was around, he then severed the rope of the other raft, declaring, the supplies are left for you. Take care of yourself. Zhou Hui snapped back to reality, watching as the raft drifted further away, yet she remained silent. Stubbornly, she believed she could survive by merely offering her medical skills, without needing to barter her body. As the raft became a distant black dot on the horizon, Su Lang finally withdrew his gaze and turned to carry Tang Yao, placing her gently on the large bed to rest. Su Lang, do you have feelings for Dr. Zhou? Zhao Yuman asked beside him. Having a doctor around is certainly beneficial. Su Lang replied, shrugging nonchalantly. Whether or not I care is irrelevant. I understand your concerns. In truth, Dr. Zhou is quite beautiful. I could help you, Zhao Yuman suggested. Casting a discreet glance at Su Lang's expression, some matters were easier for women to discuss among themselves. Everything she had now was thanks to Su Lang. And as she witnessed more tragedies, her gratitude towards him deepened. However, she felt that aside from cooking and providing warmth, she could offer little assistance to him. During the perilous events of the day, even when given a gun, she had failed to hit a single target. Thus, even if she suspected Su Lang might desire another woman, she harbored no objections and even wished to assist. Su Lang chuckled softly, no need. That woman is too complicated. Keeping her around would only bring trouble. Seeing Su Lang's resolve, Zhao Yuman opted not to press the matter further. She moved to the grill, considering what to prepare for lunch. Meanwhile, Su Lang took out a net, immersing himself in the task of collecting debris. As he worked, a frown gradually formed on his face. He noticed a troubling change. The current had intensified since the previous day. More distressingly, if the raft continued to drift with the current, the debris would also be carried away, and he observed that the garbage around the raft was dwindling. After an hour of labor, he heard Zhao Yuman call out, lunch is ready. Su Lang halted his efforts and opened the panel. Points, 54406, just over 3,000 in an hour. This pace was unsustainable. Putting away the net, he approached the bed to check on Tang Yao, only to find her already up, chatting animatedly with the 2 women by the grill. After tidying the bed and setting up the dining table, Su Lang realized he still needed to enlarge the raft, otherwise, it would become quite a hassle. Lunch was relatively hearty, featuring a pot of beef stew and a couple of stir-fried dishes. During the meal, he inquired about Tang Yao's condition, and upon hearing that she felt much better and had no complaints, he finally relaxed. After finishing their meal, Su Lang set about disassembling the propeller motor and stored the inflatable boat in his space. Rising to survey his surroundings, he noted that since the raft was constructed by old Zhou in a square shape, it mattered little where he fixed the motor. Thus, he spent the better part of the day securing the motor to the side of the raft. Finally, he called Zhao Yuman over and patiently taught her how to operate it, explaining how to switch it on and maneuver it to change direction. Subsequently, he revealed his plan to navigate against the current, which would facilitate the collection of trash while merely avoiding high-rise buildings and residential areas. Zhao Yuman nodded decisively, confident in her ability to perform well. She gestured for Tang Yao to rest more, and Su Lang took his position at the front of the raft, picking up the net to commence his work. The refuse atop the floodwaters surged towards him, and this time, the efficiency of the salvage operation markedly increased. Eager to accumulate the requisite 100,000 points, Su Lang worked diligently in silence. Zhao Yuman, perplexed by Su Lang's fervent dedication to salvaging waterborne refuse, quietly moved a stool beside her and began steering the boat. Time slipped away rapidly as they immersed themselves in their labor, and before they knew it, darkness began to envelop the sky. Tang Yao rolled out of bed and approached the stove to prepare dinner. Su Lang opened the panel to check his points. 90,728. In less than 4 hours, the efficiency was commendable. With less than 10,000 points to go, he anticipated completing the task within another 2 hours. Su Lang let out a sigh of relief and called out, "Yuman, turn off the motor and take a break." Zhao Yuman acknowledged, and the raft gradually decelerated, subsequently drifting along with the flow of the water. Su Lang approached Tang Yao, who appeared in good health, showing no signs of illness. He retrieved some bird's nest from their supplies and placed it beside the stove before moving aside to check on the motor. Zhao Yuman came to assist at the stove and immediately spotted the bird's nest. "Bird's nest?" she exclaimed, covering her mouth in surprise, while Tang Yao remained unfazed, having long since acclimated to such findings. The two began to discuss how to prepare the bird's nest. After inspecting the motor, Su Lang filled the fuel tank with diesel. Lighting a cigarette, he leaned back on the stool, contemplating what treasures might lie within the level 4 prize pool. As he exhaled smoke, a dark spot emerged in the distance through the curtain of rain. Su Lang straightened up, pulling out his binoculars to get a closer look. Amidst the dense rain, the dark spot gradually came into focus, a narrow boat. The bow sliced through the water, revealing a curved canopy at the rear. 3 identical boats sped towards their direction. "Forget about dinner. We have company," Su Lang shouted, retrieving 2 handguns and loading them with bullets. Tang Yao and Zhao Yuman approached, instinctively gripping their weapons. As the 3 small boats drew nearer, Su Lang stood at the edge of the raft, brandishing his dagger. The rumble of engines grew louder as the boats swiftly approached in a triangular formation through the rain. Squinting, Su Lang caught sight of a figure standing at the bow of the leading boat, while the other 2 boats concealed their occupants beneath the canopies. Su Lang noticed rust stains near the waterline at the bow of the opposing vessel. Were they not wooden boats? As the distance closed, Su Lang subtly signaled for Tang Yao and Zhao Yuman to remain hidden. The 2 women quickly ducked behind the curtain, with Tang Yao's grip tightening around her desert eagle. Su Lang raised his dagger high and shouted, "Slow down. Do not approach any closer. Friend, do not be alarmed. We mean you no harm." The figure at the bow called out, waving their arms. In the torrential downpour, the 3 boats began to slow, halting approximately 10 meters from the raft, their engines falling silent. "I am Chao Yi. We simply wish to trade some supplies." The man at the bow was shrouded in a raincoat, obscuring his features. "I am Su Lang." Su Lang gestured with his dagger, indicating they should maintain their distance. "What supplies do you seek?" "We do not require food. We are in need of gasoline or rope," Chao Yi replied. Su Lang raised an eyebrow at this unexpected response. In a post-apocalyptic world, how could anyone not require sustenance? Exercising caution, he noted that he had a bit of both gasoline and rope, which could be useful for gathering information. "I have half a barrel of gasoline. What can you offer in exchange?" "That is splendid." Chao Yi's tone brightened. "We have some fish, 5 in total. How does that sound?" "Fish?" Su Lang paused, recalling Pan Yong from Building 11, who had mentioned that fish were edible. So they had been eating fish. No wonder they stated they did not need food. Others might dare to consume it, but he was reluctant. Who could guarantee that there would be no repercussions? "I still have a bit of food." "I do not need fish." Su Lang shook his head. "Is there anything else?" "Do not be hasty in rejecting my offer, Su Lang," Chao Yi replied, his tone calm and steady. "I understand your concerns about the fish and their safety for consumption, correct?" Su Lang neither confirmed nor denied it and casually inquired, "Where have you come from?" "To speak candidly, we are fishermen from Yinqing. You need not worry about the fish. We have been consuming them daily during our journey without issue," Chao Yi explained. "Yinqing?" Su Lang was taken aback. "Isn't that over 800 kilometers from our city, Liqing? The coastal Yinqing?" Chao Yi nodded, elaborating. "We have been drifting atop the floodwaters for 13 days, relying on the fish for sustenance. As long as you remove their heads, these fish pose no threat, you can rest assured." Despite the lengthy explanation, Su Lang remained unmoved, prompting a hint of anxiety in Chao Yi. They had been fleeing for their lives, relying on the mobility of their fishing boats. Without gasoline, they would be left to paddle manually, with dire consequences. "Chao Yi." "Shifting tactics," said Su Lang. "Perhaps you are unaware of the recent events along the coast?" He paused deliberately, hoping to exploit the information gap he had successfully utilized in previous exchanges. Hearing this, Su Lang's curiosity was piqued. "Have you noticed how the current has intensified?" flowing persistently in one direction. Su Lang acknowledged the increasing velocity of the water, but had not been aware of it moving toward a specific point. At that moment, however, Chao Yi fell silent. Su Lang understood. In a world gone awry, who would offer assistance without a motive? Even providing advantageous information came at a cost. I do not want your fish. You need only share everything you know with me. Su Lang pointed to the oil barrel. And this half barrel of gasoline will be yours. Upon hearing this, Chao Yi let out a sigh of relief. After a moment's consideration, he slowly began. On the third day of the torrential rain, Yinqing was submerged, and everyone hastily fled to the waters. Following that, seawater inundated the inland areas, unleashing a horde of mutated creatures, fierce and bloodthirsty. Gigantic beings, the size of ships, emerged, attacking vessels and causing numerous casualties. What about the national forces? Su Lang interjected with a furrowed brow. The rain has only persisted for a few days. Surely, the government must have mobilized support by now? The military has been deployed. Chao Yi's tone grew grave. All large vessels have been commandeered by the state to combat these unknown creatures while evacuating civilians. We escaped on this small fishing boat. At this point, Chao Yi paused, seemingly recalling the harrowing scene, a flicker of fear crossing his face. We fled downstream without looking back, and eventually, others caught up with us. We heard that the military had suffered significant losses. Su Lang could not contain his astonishment. How is that possible? With the military's advanced weaponry, what monstrosity could withstand their firepower? I do not know the specifics. I have heard it was due to some unknown reason that the high-tech weapons aboard the warships became inoperable. In the following days, military vessels pursued us, recklessly retreating inland. Chao Yi recounted, fixing his gaze intently on Su Lang. Unknown creatures? Even the military cannot contend with them? Su Lang felt a growing heaviness in his heart. Such a terrifying entity, if he were to encounter it, even with a weapon in hand, would it not be a futile endeavor? If what you say is true, there should be many boats that have escaped. Why have I not come across a single one? Su Lang, regaining his composure, inquired with perplexity. We are quite fortunate. Chao Yi replied. We have scoured for gasoline along the way and have been able to accelerate ahead of others. By tonight, or at the latest by tomorrow, boats from the coast should be arriving. Su Lang pondered for a moment before posing his final question. In all these days of consuming fish, have you encountered any of those creatures covered in scales? Indeed, Chao Yi answered decisively. Many of the earliest fish consumers have transformed into monsters. And it was only then that people discovered the critical point, the fish head. Consuming the head leads to transformation, while eating only the body prevents it, even enhancing one's strength. However, this enhancement has its limits. After 10 days, our strength has doubled, but there has been no further increase. Seeing the candor in Chao Yi's response, Su Lang dismissed any thoughts of deception. He gestured for Chao Yi to come closer and handed him half a barrel of gasoline. Throughout the exchange, Su Lang remained vigilant, with Tang Yao gripping her gun tightly behind the curtain. Fortunately, Chao Yi had no ulterior motives. He took the gasoline and steered his boat away. As they accelerated past the raft, he turned back to offer a parting warning. I suggest you hasten your departure. There are creatures following the fleeing boats. Su Lang nodded gravely. Chapter 42. The flush toilet. 3 small boats passed by the raft, gradually growing distant. Both Tang Yao and Zhao Yuman sighed in relief, exchanging glances before turning their attention to Su Lang. They had overheard the earlier conversation and were apprehensive about the potentially massive unknown creatures pursuing them. While it is still light, let us also accelerate for a while, Su Lang declared, starting the engine. With a roar, the raft began to gain speed. Noticing that the 2 women remained motionless, he instructed, Yuman, take the wheel. I will fish a bit longer. Tang Yao, prepare dinner. The 2 immediately complied, and Su Lang proceeded to fish at the front of the raft. Before long, dinner was ready. Su Lang stowed his net and gazed into the distance, realizing that the dark silhouettes of Chao Yi's 3 boats had vanished. How could such a short span of time lead to such a disparity in speed? It seemed the current propeller was somewhat inadequate for the raft. He would need to devise a method for improvement. Otherwise, should a sea monster give chase? How would they manage? Dinner was sumptuous, with each person receiving a bowl of bird's nest soup. As they savored their delightful meal, the weight on their hearts lightened considerably. After finishing, night had fully descended. Yuman, you continue steering. I will call you if we need to change course. Su Lang donned a headlamp and moved to the front of the raft, intending to seize the opportunity to collect more debris and surpass the 100,000-point threshold. Zhao Yuman started the motor, and the raft gradually accelerated into the night. The raft was shrouded in darkness. Tang Yao attempted to light a candle, but the wind extinguished the flame. Searching the space, Su Lang discovered 2 large glass cups, securing one beside the motor and the other diagonally across. Placing a lit candle inside, the glass shielded the flame from the wind, casting a steady, faint light over the raft. With visibility improved, Su Lang bent down to begin his work. When it came to fishing for debris, the efficiency of moving with the current versus against it was incomparable. However, with no other options available, Su Lang continued his silent labor. Using the dim light, Tang Yao cleaned up the dining table and approached Su Lang. Su Lang, let me assist you. This is labor-intensive. You shouldn't overexert yourself. Go help Yuman. She must be tired, and you can take turns steering. Su Lang persisted in his task. Tang Yao nodded and moved to the back. Moments later, hushed voices reached him from behind. Uncertain how much time had passed, an electronic voice suddenly announced, "Congratulations. You have accumulated 100,000 points." The cold synthetic sound was like music to Su Lang's ears. He promptly dropped his net. "You have received 40 attribute points. You have unlocked the level 4 lottery pool." A wave of comfort washed over him. "You have activated the waste material processing and transformation function." Su Lang was taken aback. His gaze slowly shifted to a newly appeared section on the panel. The host could now upgrade any item by consuming points. With a thought, an ethereal projection of a raft materialized on the panel. He felt a surge of inspiration, a complete sense of control. Merely envisioning it allowed him to alter the projection. He tried widening the base slightly, and in an instant, the projection expanded by 1 meter, albeit without a roof. This plan will take 1 hour and consume 1,000 points. Confirm? No. Transform it into a yacht. The projection instantly morphed into the yacht he envisioned, an immaculate white vessel with a streamlined hull. Featuring a spacious cabin with a lavish bed and bathroom, a gleaming teak deck on the second level, and a comfortable dining area, culminating in a viewing platform on the third level. His breath quickened, heart racing, a tingling sensation enveloping his head. Overwhelming joy surged through him. Is this a surprise from the system? This plan will take hours and consume points. Counting the zeros in the required points, Su Lang could only manage a wry smile as he swallowed hard. Shaking his head, he accepted reality. Widen by 3 meters, upgrade the propeller and motor. The projection shifted again, the square raft gaining an equally sized base, transforming into a rectangle. The motor at the back expanded, firmly fixed to the edge of the raft, while the connected propeller blades were tripled in size. Just from appearance, it seemed that propelling the raft would be effortless. Though he remained unsure of the actual outcome of the modifications. Observing the bare expanse of the raft, he extended the awning forward by 2 meters. This plan will take 6 hours and consume 6,000 points. Confirm? Only 6,000 points. Merely a drop in the bucket. Should he add a second floor? Glancing at the time, he decided against it. First, he would boost the speed and reassess the situation tomorrow. Confirm. Countdown. 5:59. 59. Exiting the modification section. It was time to try out the level 4 lottery pool. Following the usual procedure, he lit a cigarette. System, commence the lottery. Spend 1,000 points to draw once from the level 4 lottery pool. Confirm. System, 10 draws. Wait, 10 draws cost 10,000 points. I cannot be so reckless with my points. Draw once. Congratulations, you have obtained 1 ton of rice. Again, you have obtained 4 submachine guns. Onward. System, 10 draws. You have received 10 barrels of gasoline, 100 kilograms of garlic, 100 barrels of purified water, 10 waterproof submachine gun suits, 100 bottles of soy sauce, 5,000 rounds of universal rifle ammunition, 500 rounds of universal sniper ammunition, 10 outdoor lights, a flush toilet, and a sniper rifle. A sniper rifle. This was a formidable weapon, especially for long-range combat. Su Lang flipped the rifle in his hands. Its length of approximately 1 meter felt somewhat heavy, yet reassuring against his touch. After securing the rifle, he glanced at the item list. A flush toilet? A toilet that required no electricity, only needing a tank filled with water to function. The raft had a hole left for natural relief, which exposed the floodwaters below, an experience none of them wished to repeat. Hastily, Su Lang activated the transformation panel and paused for a moment. He fixated on the projection of the raft, contemplating the design of a large water barrel atop the ceiling. Open at the top to facilitate rainwater collection, with a plastic hose connected below. The toilet would be installed in the existing opening, integrating the plastic hose into the toilet tank. This plan would require an additional hour and incur a cost of 1,000 points. Upon inspection, the solitary toilet seemed somewhat desolate, prompting him to partition a space with wooden boards. Rubbing his chin, he decided to add a shower head to the wooden structure, similarly connected to the upper water pipe, thereby creating both a toilet and a shower. Time increased by 15 hours, Point consumption increased by 500. Confirm? Confirmed. The countdown resumed, and Su Lang closed the panel. Turning, he approached the rear of the raft, where both women's gazes met his. A grin spread across his face. Good news? Tang Yao playfully inquired. Su Lang smiled back. Great news, you'll find out tomorrow morning. His eyes roamed over the two women. Let us enjoy ourselves first. With that, he took Tang Yao's hand and dashed towards the large bed. Chapter 43. Where did you come from? After drifting through the floodwaters, Su Lang felt an incessant urgency within. At last, he had amassed 100,000 points, setting aside the sense of security provided by the sniper rifle. The transformation capability alone meant that with sufficient points, he could endlessly modify the raft, ensuring a comfortable existence even amidst the raging flood. With a lightened heart, he felt physically at ease as well. Soon, Tang Yao succumbed, pleading for mercy. Reluctantly, he called upon Zhao Yuman to temporarily halt the propeller, allowing the raft to drift for a while. Zhao Yuman, her eyes glimmering with affection, discerned Su Lang's elation and bit her lip as she entered the bedroom. Ultimately, all three were exhausted and fell into a deep slumber. Tap, tap, tap. What sound is that? Su Lang's ears perked up. He opened his eyes to find the surroundings shrouded in darkness. The candles on the raft had burned out, and dawn had yet to break. Tap, tap, tap. The sound, reminiscent of a tractor, grew louder and clearer as it approached. How could there be a tractor on the water? Su Lang rose from the bed, parting the fabric curtain to peer in the direction of the noise. In the distance, a boat sped along the current, its searchlight cutting through the night, illuminating the water's surface. Su Lang retrieved an outdoor lamp, the gentle yellow light instantly brightening the raft, far superior to the flickering candles. On the large bed, Tang Yao and Zhao Yuman slept soundly, their alluring forms a sight to behold. He approached and gently tapped the two women, urging them to dress quickly and awaken. With that, he retrieved a tang knife from his space, standing at the edge of the raft, prepared for any eventuality. Tang Yao jolted awake, while Zhao Yuman, still groggy, inquired, "What is happening? It sounds like a boat is approaching. Get up quickly," Tang Yao urged, hastily donning her clothes and joining Su Lang at his side. She tightly gripped the shadow of the desert, concealing herself behind the curtain. The tap, tap, tap grew louder, likely the sound of a large diesel engine. Typical of larger vessels. "Brother Yu, there's a wooden raft ahead," Fan Ming called from the bow of the boat, turning back. It was a long cargo vessel, resembling a fishing boat but larger and longer, with only a rounded canopy at the stern. "Let us get closer to see if there are any supplies." A voice echoed from within the canopy. Fan Ming adjusted the course, steering toward the raft. Originally a fisherman from the submerged city, he had been forced to abandon his large fishing boat, commandeered by the authorities, and instead sought refuge with a friend's small cargo vessel. As the distance between the raft and the boat diminished, Fan Ming shone the searchlight directly onto the raft, revealing a figure standing there, the curtain billowing in the wind, exposing a lavish bed. "Turn around, don't come any closer." Su Lang's booming voice pierced through the ring. Fan Ming smirked, disregarding the warning, and continued to approach. Just one person, he thought, dismissing the threat. He had encountered countless refugees on this journey. When they were in groups, they would be cautious, but when alone, they were simply prey to be robbed of their supplies. "I warn you once more, do not approach." Su Lang's voice rang out again. Fan Ming continued to ignore him, scrutinizing the raft for any hidden figures. As they drew nearer, the curtain fluttered, revealing Tang Yao's silhouette, though her face was obscured. Her long hair and alluring curves were indelibly etched in Fan Ming's mind. "Brother Yu, there's a woman up there, she's stunning," Fan Ming shouted, his voice clearly reaching Su Lang's ears. Su Lang's expression darkened. He instinctively grasped his weapon. Two warnings had been ignored, and they were now encroaching upon him with ill intentions toward his woman. There would be no further negotiations. "How many people are there on the other side?" Zhao Yu's voice came from within the canopy. Before Fan Ming could respond, he had already reached the bow, flanked by 6 or 7 figures. Fan Ming focused intently ahead, seeing only one man. At this point, the cargo vessel was less than 20 meters from the raft. Su Lang also spotted the figures emerging from the cargo ship and turned to Tang Yao. "When I give the signal, you shoot." Tang Yao nodded firmly, gripping her weapon tighter. Su Lang then looked at Zhao Yuman. "Yuman, do you understand? Don't be afraid." Zhao Yuman, somewhat flustered, swallowed hard and nodded. The distance between the two parties narrowed to 10 meters, and silence reigned. Zhao Yu also noticed Tang Yao and Zhao Yuman behind the curtain. A sinister expression crossed his face. Damn it, even in a crisis, they brought 2 exquisite women. Fan Ming chimed in, right? They even brought a big bed. This guy really knows how to enjoy himself. Laughter erupted among the crew. What enjoyment. Soon it will be our turn to enjoy. That raft looks sturdy. Why not tie it to the back and take it with us? Amidst their reckless banter, the crew produced various weapons, including several long spears resembling harpoons. Zhao Yu brandished a long knife, barking orders, "Be quick about it, no chatter." The others responded in unison. As the boat drew within 2 meters of the raft, Zhao Yu shouted, "Go!" Almost simultaneously, the deafening crack of gunfire erupted. Fan Ming collapsed, 2 gaping wounds appearing on his chest. His eyes wide with disbelief at the unexpected assault. Zhao Yu reacted swiftly, retreating to shield his companions. Listening to the barrage of gunfire, he watched in horror as his comrades fell one by one, panic seizing him. His legs trembled uncontrollably, a chilling dread creeping up his spine. As soon as Su Lang fired, Tang Yao gritted her teeth and joined in, the darkness making it impossible to tell if she hit anything. She fought against her trembling body, mechanically firing shot after shot at the crowd across from her. Zhao Yuman fared little better. After her first shot, she screamed in fright. Her fingers shook so violently, she could hardly maintain her grip on the gun, desperately encouraging herself to aim and fire amidst her panic. The gunfire continued as the cargo vessel closed in on the raft, the engine roaring without pause, pushing the raft forward. Once the last round was fired, Su Lang saw that not a single figure remained standing on the cargo ship. Both Tang Yao and Zhao Yuman had emptied their weapons, their taut nerves finally relaxing as they slumped down. Su Lang took his time, reloading his ammunition before leaping onto the cargo vessel. The 2 individuals in the forefront lay lifeless, as Su Lang lifted his foot and kicked them into the water. His gaze swept across the scene, and he discovered one who still showed signs of life. He pressed his tang knife against the man's heart and demanded, "Where do you come from? Who is in charge on the boat?" The bloodied figure, with a gaping wound in his abdomen, opened his mouth but could not produce a sound, tremblingly pointing a finger towards Zhao Yu. Su Lang nodded, kicked the corpse into the flood, and approached Zhao Yu, slowly crouching down. He fixed his gaze on Zhao Yu and inquired, "What is your name? Where do you hail from?" Chapter 44, It was I who did this. Zhao Yu found himself in an exceptionally dire state. His quick reflexes allowed him to retreat on all fours, narrowly avoiding immediate death. However, he had sustained an injury. A bullet had struck him in the upper thigh during the initial encounter, soaking his pants in blood. Pressing one hand against the wound and using the other to struggle upright, his face turned pale. "My name is Zhao Yu. I come from Yinqing," he stammered, his voice quivering, uncertain whether from pain or fear. Su Lang held the tang knife at Zhao Yu's throat. "Are there many who have escaped from Yinqing?" "Yes," Zhao Yu replied, sweat beading on his forehead. "There are many boats from Yinqing." After speaking, he desperately leaned forward, attempting to bow his head, his voice cracking, "Big brother, please show mercy, spare me. I do not wish to die." Su Lang remained unmoved and pressed on. "Have you seen any colossal creatures in the water?" As soon as the words left his lips, Zhao Yu appeared to recall something, his eyes widening and pupils constricting. Trembling, he replied, "I saw one from a distance. Taller than the largest fishing boat, resembling an octopus, completely enveloping a fishing vessel and dragging it into the sea." Upon reaching this point, he shivered uncontrollably. Su Lang's heart sank. The information matched what Chao Yi had mentioned, yet this unknown creature further challenged Su Lang's understanding. Taller than a boat, dragging a vessel into the depths? What kind of size must that be? Has the octopus mutated? "Big brother, I am a beast, not a human. I realize my mistakes." Zhao Yu cried, tears streaming down his face. "Let me go. Consider it a mere mistake, please." Su Lang regained his composure, a look of disgust crossing his face. "I will not kill you." "Really? Thank you, big brother, thank you." Zhao Yu pressed his palms together in desperation, repeating his gratitude. Just as he thought he had escaped calamity, Su Lang's cold voice echoed, "You jump in yourself. I want this boat." In the depths of despair, Zhao Yu suddenly glimpsed hope, only to find it was still desperate. His spirit shattered. He pleaded, "Big brother, I have something good." He frantically searched his garments and presented a palm-sized box. Su Lang raised an eyebrow but did not reach for it. "What is inside?" Zhao Yu cautiously opened it, revealing a square crystal, the size of a fingernail, shimmering with a faint blue light, appearing extraordinary. "This was taken from the head of the sea monster," Zhao Yu explained. "I do not know its purpose, but the military needs it." Su Lang closed the lid and took it, asking, "Where did you acquire it?" Zhao Yu hesitated but ultimately gritted his teeth and said, "We encountered a military ship that was about to sink and found it among the floating supplies." Su Lang's skepticism was evident. He did not fully believe the claim. He turned and searched the boat's stern, discovering a small amount of supplies under the rain cover, along with some fishing tools. He collected everything into his space, realizing there was nothing else of value on the boat. He walked past Zhao Yu and returned to the wooden raft. Tang Yao and the others appeared somewhat calmer, albeit still tense as they watched him. Here, I left one for you to practice your courage, Su Lang said nonchalantly. The earlier chaos had prevented him from assessing the two women's performance. He only knew they had both fired their weapons, though he was unaware if they had hit anything. He took back their handguns, filled each with bullets, and returned them. Now, grip tightly, aim, and pull the trigger. He held Zhao Yuman's hand and demonstrated once. Tang Yao, having experienced it once and having even killed a man, remained composed. She pursed her lips, lifted her desert eagle, and aimed. Bang! A loud noise erupted, but she missed. Exhaling a breath of frustration, she aimed again. Zhao Yuman, seeing Tang Yao shoot first, refused to be outdone, taking deep breaths to steady her arms. Bang! 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 The gunfire rang out in succession, eliciting a pig-like scream from Zhao Yu as he struggled to crawl to the edge of the boat. He regretted crossing paths with that man. All his companions were dead. His treasure relinquished, yet that man showed no signs of letting him off the hook. He had even made the two women practice shooting, using him as a living target. After being shot in the shoulder, he desperately clung to the edge of the boat, the immense pain clouding his senses. Yet, the gunfire continued sporadically, most of it landing nearby. The inability to hit him became a psychological torment. Rather than endure such torture, he resolved to give himself a swift end. With all his strength, he leaped into the icy floodwaters. Su Lang did not look back at the spectacle of the monstrous fish feeding. He focused on stowing away the firearms. You performed admirably. Take a moment to rest. Zhao Yuman stared blankly at the water's surface, her complexion paling. At that moment, a slender hand reached out to her. Do not look, Su Lang said, waving his hand to store the boat in his space. The small fishing boat had its merits, but its only drawback was its narrowness, which could not accommodate a large bed. Moreover, the wooden raft was nearing completion for modifications, promising an upgrade to a metal hull next time. The water's surface returned to tranquility, with only the gentle sound of water remaining. After stowing away the bed, he set up a dining table, and the three sat down to rest briefly. Su Lang prepared to smoke, but found his cigarettes were gone. Instead, he retrieved a lotus flower, tore it open, and took a deep drag. He relayed the information he had just learned to the two women, who nodded solemnly, remaining silent. Leaning back on his chair, he opened the modification panel. Countdown, 0:38, 45, half an hour remaining. It was progressing swiftly. Su Lang activated the motor, and the raft accelerated away from the crimson waters. After a while, a rumbling sound echoed across the surface again. A slightly larger fishing boat broke through the rain curtain, where the water was now devoid of any red hue. The gunfire must have originated nearby. A middle-aged man frowned as he gazed ahead and softly remarked, "Those people have already departed." A companion stepped forward and pondered, "Brother, do you think it could be the military? Don't be ridiculous." The man cursed. "The sea monster is still behind us. The military wouldn't fire here. Should we not stop for a moment?" The man furrowed his brow, contemplating for a while before declaring, "We cannot stop. Chen Jie and his gang are right behind us. Maintain speed. Let us see what happens. What are we afraid of? They have guns, and so do we." Su Lang glanced at the horizon, where a glimmer of light began to appear. Breakfast was ready, so he turned off the motor and approached the table. It was once again the pancakes made by Zhao Yuman, and Su Lang found them delicious. "Yuman, your pancakes are exquisite." Zhao Yuman's lips curled into a smile. "If you enjoy them, I will make you more in the future." Noticing the atmosphere lighten, Su Lang gently said, "If you feel uneasy about your first kill, please speak up." Upon hearing this, Zhao Yuman felt warmth in her heart and nodded, "I am fine." Just as Su Lang was about to say more, a cheerful notification chimed in his mind. Modification complete. In an instant, the raft emitted a slight sound. "Do not panic. It is my doing." Chapter 45. Practicing marksmanship. A faint creaking sound emerged from the raft, causing the two women to feel a gentle vibration. Startled and unsure of the source, they regained their composure upon hearing Su Lang's voice and began to survey their surroundings. Like a fuse igniting, a brilliant light appeared at the front end of the raft's base, continuously extending forward and revealing a new section of the base in its wake. Tang Yao's beautiful eyes widened in astonishment. "What kind of magic is this?" she exclaimed. "Su Lang, did you conjure this?" Zhao Yuman asked. Her crimson lips parted in disbelief. At that moment, the raft's base had doubled in size, and the radiant glow faded. "It is I who have modified the raft, and the process is far from complete," he replied, enveloping both women in his arms. "Stay tuned." The creaking sound continued from above, as the magical light extended the roof by 2 meters. A water pipe then descended through the ceiling, splitting into two, leading to a toilet and a shower head that soon emerged. In less than 2 seconds, everything had transpired. The metallic, grinding noise from the motor echoed through the air. "Ah, this is incredible," Tang Yao exclaimed, her cheeks flushed with excitement. Zhao Yumin took a few seconds to process the information. "We can use a toilet on this raft?" "Of course," Su Lang chuckled. "Once the water tank catches some rain. You can give it a try." Tang Yao jumped with joy. "Really? That's fantastic." She had been struggling for days, having to relieve herself at the raft's opening, which felt like an experience in the wilderness. Thankfully, it was rare to encounter others above the floodwaters. As for bathing, she could only do so under the cover of night, groping her way through the darkness. Su Lang appreciated the women's reactions and playfully pinched Tang Yao's cheek. "I only made minor modifications last night, mainly to the propeller. We will gradually transform this raft into our desired form." Hearing this, the two women felt a wave of disorientation. While others fought fiercely for food, they had been enjoying small dishes and steak, floating above the floodwaters. While others were left to survive on fish, struggling to sleep on their small boats, they could comfortably sleep on a big bed at night. Now, they learned that Su Lang could further enhance the raft. This stark contrast filled them with immense gratitude and a sense of superiority. Deeply appreciating Su Lang for bringing them along, they hugged him tightly, the unspoken bond between them palpable. "All right," Su Lang smiled. "Let's test the new motor and see how fast it can go." "I'll do it," Zhao Yumin volunteered, confident from her experience. Su Lang stepped back and lit a cigarette, moving to the edge of the raft. With a rumble, the motor started, and the raft gradually accelerated. Su Lang gazed at the distant water surface, but soon his brow furrowed. The speed was not as impressive as he had hoped. It was merely a slight improvement over before. Compared to the boats of Chao, Yi, and the others, it still lagged behind. "What is going on?" Su Lang opened the panel to inspect the raft's projection. The propeller at the rear seemed adequate in size. With a thought, he attempted to communicate with the system. "Can you analyze the raft's speed modification plan?" The projection shifted, revealing several parameters, and the raft's base transformed into a glowing module. Su Lang suddenly realized that the increase in size had expanded the contact area with the water. Various speed enhancement plans revolved around the base, suggesting modifications for better navigation. The first plan required the least points, simply replacing the base material. It would take 6 hours and cost 6,000 points. The second plan was slightly more complex, adding waterproof railings around the edges, resembling a typical boat hull. This would take 18 hours and cost 18,000 points. The third plan was the most intricate, converting the base into a deck, while reshaping the underside to resemble a boat, raising the sides 2 meters above the water, with the roof remaining unchanged. This option would take 48 hours and consume 48,000 points. "This one is excellent," Su Lang mused. Raising the hull height increases safety significantly. Otherwise, a fishing boat could easily collide with the raft. After the height adjustment, intruders would have to climb from a ladder, making it less daunting even if they outnumbered us. However, the point cost was indeed substantial. He pondered briefly and tentatively inquired, "If I use the materials from the boat I just seized, can that offset some points?" A response echoed in his mind. The metal components from the fishing boat could be utilized for the raft's modification, offsetting 11,000 points. Su Lang's eyes lit up. "Is this feasible?" He promptly retrieved all the planks and cabinets he had previously collected. After some thought, he decided to forego 2 of the finest beds and wardrobes for future use. Estimated time, 36 hours. Cost, 24,000 points. Confirm? Confirm. Countdown, 35, 59, 58. Estimating the time, the modification would be complete by tomorrow night. Su Lang let out a sigh of relief. Glancing at his remaining points, which totaled 51,000, he opened the lottery page. System, level 4 prize pool. You have 110 life rings. Continue. You have 110 bulletproof helmets. Not bad, keep going. You have 110 personal hygiene kits. A quick glance revealed a complete set, even including body lotion. You have 1 gasoline generator. Finally, Su Lang exclaimed. With electricity, the refrigerator, television, and washing machine in their space would become operational. He eagerly surveyed the area. But then a dilemma arose. The raft was too narrow. From Su Lang's perspective, there was a bed, a toilet, a dining table, and finally, a large oven with a motor. There was no room for those appliances. Reluctantly, he set aside those thoughts and decided to wait until the modifications were complete tomorrow night. He resolved to conclude his lottery attempts for the day. On the raft, Zhao Yumin operated the motor while Tang Yao emerged from the shower, chatting excitedly with Zhao Yumin before switching places at the helm. Zhao Yumin hurried off to bathe. Once both individuals had completed their grooming, they deliberated on who would steer the boat while the other practiced shooting. Bang! Bang! The sound of gunfire occasionally erupted across the water's surface. Su Lang, seemingly indifferent, took the opportunity to gaze into the distance, failing to spot any other vessels, before resuming his task of collecting debris. Behind the wooden raft, a large ship pierced through the curtain of rain, traveling at full speed, soon followed by 7 or 8 smaller boats. At the bow of the large ship stood a figure clad in a raincoat and wearing a wide-brimmed hat. Chao Er raised his binoculars for a closer inspection. Muttering in frustration, "Why must I be the one to keep watch while those scoundrels, Zhang Long and his crew, enjoy themselves inside? Have you spotted them?" The voice crackled through the static. Chao Er pressed the button on the walkie-talkie strapped to his chest, responding, "Not yet, big brother." He then brought the binoculars to his eyes, scanning the horizon meticulously. "Be cautious. If you notice anything, inform me immediately." The voice returned through the walkie-talkie. As Chao Er prepared to reply, a sudden explosion echoed from afar. Despite the surrounding din of engines, he discerned the unmistakable sound of gunfire. Frowning, he turned in the direction of the noise, pressing the walkie-talkie button again. "Big brother, I heard gunfire." The response was swift. "Did you see the boat? How far is it?" Chao Er did not respond immediately, but adjusted the binoculars with precision. The rain was heavy, creating a mist over the distant water. Suddenly, a dark speck emerged from the haze. Gradually, it grew larger and clearer, and he recognized it as a wooden raft. He quickly retrieved the walkie-talkie. "Big brother, there's a wooden raft less than a kilometer ahead of us. Wait for me." Just as he finished speaking, a group of people poured out from the cabin in the center of the deck. The distant gunfire continued sporadically. Leading the charge was Shen Xiong, similarly clad in a raincoat, who pulled out his binoculars and inquired, "Where is it?" Chao Er immediately pointed in the direction. "Over there, a wooden raft. And it's not moving quickly." Shen Xiong peered through the binoculars, while the others waited silently behind him. Without shifting his stance, he muttered, "Just a raft. What are they shooting at?" Chao Er pondered for a moment, hesitating. Could they be shooting at fish in the water? Upon hearing this, Shen Xiong lowered his binoculars, contemplating. "That is possible." After a brief pause, he commanded, "Notify the other boats to maintain formation and eliminate that wooden raft." "Brother Xiong, how many people are there?" One of the men behind could not help but ask. "How many can a wooden raft carry?" Shen Xiong barked, "Follow my orders and don't ask questions next time." Zhang Long felt his calves trembling uncontrollably, perplexed by the sudden outburst from their leader. He promptly turned and headed inside to inform the other boats using the onboard walkie-talkie. Observing Zhang Long's discomfort, Chao Er smirked slightly, a look of satisfaction crossing his face. Shen Xiong addressed the remainder of the group, stating, "What I covet are the guns and ammunition. Each additional firearm enhances our strength." He chuckled darkly, continuing, "Besides, there's only a wooden raft opposite us. It's a gift delivered right to our doorstep, and we shall not let it go to waste." Laughter erupted among the group, who quickly echoed, "Brother Xiong, you are wise and powerful. What is there to fear, regardless of their numbers?" As the command was given, the subordinates pledged to charge forth valiantly. On the raft, the two women practiced shooting, initially trembling with apprehension, but gradually becoming engrossed. They took turns, firing several hundred rounds. Even lunch consisted of hastily cooked steak, devoured quickly before they returned to practice. Su Lang, though surprised by their enthusiasm, said nothing and continued to collect debris. Tang Yao, feeling her arms grow weary after several shots, placed the gun on the table. Just as she was about to switch with Zhao Yuman for a turn, she suddenly noticed a vessel approaching not far behind them. Her pupils dilated, and she softly called, "Su Lang, there's a boat coming." Su Lang, who had been gathering trash, immediately rushed over. He retrieved the binoculars and peered into the rain-soaked distance. Counting carefully, he discerned a total of 5 boats approaching, 1 large and 4 small. As he focused intently, it became clear that the 5 vessels were closing in on the raft, confirming that they were moving faster than the raft itself. The small boats bore a similar fishing boat design, likely remnants of those who had fled from the submerged city. Furrowing his brow in contemplation, Su Lang realized that this was the largest group of boats he had encountered, and they clearly represented a single faction. Regardless of their intentions, he wished to avoid any confrontation. He adjusted the raft's direction, intending to steer it aside and allow them to pass. As the raft glided through the water, Su Lang glanced through the binoculars once more, only to observe that the 5 boats were also shifting their course. Narrowing his eyes, he retrieved 2 submachine guns and some ammunition, thinking to himself, "Be cautious. These individuals are approaching." It was possible they sought to barter for supplies or gather intelligence, perhaps without malicious intent. However, it mattered little. There were too many people on those 5 boats. Turning back, he noticed the vessels were now less than 500 meters from the raft, the figures at the bow visible even without the binoculars. They were closing in swiftly. Su Lang revved the motor, steering the raft toward the opposite side of the current. The pursuing boats, indeed, altered their course in unison, with his brows deeply furrowed. Su Lang donned a bulletproof vest and helmet, prompting the two women to do the same. Hide well. If things go awry, fire immediately, Su Lang instructed. Shutting off the motor, the two women nodded solemnly. Standing at the edge of the raft, he gazed at the 5 boats, now only 200 meters away, taking a deep breath before shouting, "I warn you, do not come any closer." On the bow of the ship, Shen Xiong and his crew heard Su Lang's warning. Find a reason to stall him. Close in a bit more, Shen Xiong whispered commandingly. Chao Er immediately understood, raising his voice, "Friend, do not be afraid. We wish to discuss something with you." Hearing the words drift across the water, Su Lang raised an eyebrow. Discuss? Discuss what? While he pondered, the boats surged into a 100-meter range. Just as he was about to inquire further, a gunshot erupted across the surface of the water. It felt as though Su Lang had been struck in the chest, and he staggered as the realization struck him. He had been shot. Chapter 47. Grenade cheers erupted from the bow of the ship. "I hit him," Chao Er shouted excitedly. "Incredible. A shot from 100 meters, and it's a hit. Brother Xiong is still as formidable as ever." Zhang Long quickly chimed in. "Brother Xiong is powerful, powerful." The crowd behind them echoed their flattery. Shen Xiong slowly lowered his standard rifle, yet a look of concern crossed his face, sensing that something was amiss. Chao Er paused. "Brother Xiong, do you sense something wrong?" "When I hit him," Shen Xiong furrowed his brow in hesitation. Chao Er immediately raised his binoculars, intent on confirming the situation, bringing the lenses closer. He clearly observed the scene on the wooden raft. As the curtain of fabric fluttered, Chao Er caught a glimpse of a slender figure with long, shapely legs and a delicate waist. Instinctively, he tried to get a clearer view, but the swaying fabric obscured the figure entirely. Frustrated, he thought to himself, "Why can't the wind blow a little harder?" At that moment, an inexplicable palpitation surged from his heart as he realized something significant. The corpse of the man who had been shot was nowhere to be found. The area beside the raft, where that individual had stood just moments ago, was conspicuously empty. Chao Er had clearly witnessed Shen Xiong shoot that man in the chest. How could he have vanished? As both parties drew closer, Chao Er could even discern the hemp ropes binding the raft. There was not a single trace of blood on the ground. Something was amiss. Brother Xiong was right. This was indeed peculiar. Suddenly, a deafening gunshot erupted like thunder on a rainy night, reverberating across the water. In that instant, darkness enveloped Chao Er, and then he was plunged into oblivion. Shen Xiong's ears buzzed as warm liquid splattered across his face. When he turned in shock, he beheld the mangled remains of Chao Er, his chest bearing a gruesome gaping wound, with one arm lost to the chaos. "Be careful," Shen Xiong shouted hoarsely, urging his comrades to maintain their speed and provide covering fire. After a brief moment of hesitation, he made a resolute decision. It was time to fight. The loss of a few lives was inconsequential as long as they could seize the weapons. On the raft, Su Lang concealed himself behind the fabric curtain, holding a sniper rifle with bated breath. After being shot, he had crouched down and moved behind the curtain, feeling a surge of determination. He drew out the sniper rifle, aiming at a man holding binoculars, initially believing him to be the leader. However, with 5 boats charging forward, it was evident that someone else was issuing commands. Had he miscalculated? Glancing at the bullet holes in his bulletproof vest, a wave of dread washed over him. Including the previous crossbow bolt, the vest had saved him twice. "Open fire when you see a target. Don't conserve ammunition," Su Lang called out to Tang Yao and the others. Since the enemy had commenced firing without a word, there was no need for courtesy. Tang Yao did not respond. She aimed her weapon, her delicate features hardened with resolve. The moment Su Lang was shot, her heart tightened. He was their pillar of support, their everything. She could not allow anything to happen to him. Bang! Bang! They fired almost simultaneously. Zhao Yuman gritted her teeth, resembling an enraged lioness. Shifting her gaze, Su Lang aimed at the large ship, searching for a target. The figures aboard the vessel had vanished, all taking cover. He turned his attention to the other 4 boats, but still saw no sign of life. It appeared the opposing side intended to charge, relying on their numerical advantage for a decisive assault. As he observed the 5 approaching vessels, Su Lang reluctantly stowed away the sniper rifle and retrieved a grenade from his palm. Estimating the distance to be over 30 meters, he swiftly pulled the pin and hurled it towards a small boat. With his physical attributes, throwing such a distance felt as effortless as flicking away a cigarette butt. The grenade soared high, completing its arc before landing with a thud on the small craft. Due to Su Lang's rapid execution, The delayed fuse had yet to ignite. On the small boat, 4 or 5 figures crouched low, scanning the surroundings. The sound of the explosion startled the nearest man. "What was that?" he exclaimed, glancing around in confusion. "Could it have been nothing?" One replied, "Stay hidden." Another commanded tersely, urging caution. As the man continued to search, he suddenly spotted a dark object within his line of sight, roughly the size of a duck egg, glinting with a metallic sheen. "That's bad," he shouted. However, his warning was cut short as a thunderous explosion drowned out the gunfire, sending a shockwave of shrapnel across the boat. Several men were hurled into the air, their bodies drenched in blood as they screamed and plunged into the water. Shun Xiong watched in horror, his pupils constricting. "Is that a cannon? Does the raft have artillery?" He kicked Zhang Long forcefully. Zhang Long was knocked to the deck, trembling and unable to rise. He had clearly heard the explosion. What weapon could produce such a deafening sound? A cannonball. The earlier shot that had obliterated Chao Air was already terrifying enough. But now it seemed the raft was equipped with an even more formidable weapon. Unable to bear the sight, he covered his head with his hands, shaking uncontrollably. At worst, he could endure another kick from Shin Xiong. It was better than facing death. Seeing Zhang Long so terrified, Shin Xiong kicked him again. Just then, another explosion rang out. Su Lang's grenade had missed its mark, detonating in the water near the large ship, erupting in a shower of spray. Shin Xiong's hair stood on end, as if the Grim Reaper had beckoned him. Whether it was a cannonball or not became irrelevant. Furthermore, the opposing gunfire exhibited extraordinary lethality. Given the stringent control exerted by the country, how could a raft possess such terrifying weaponry? What justified their arsenal? Were they survivors from the military? After all, the standard rifle in his hands had been salvaged from the vicinity of a sunken warship. Initially, he had thought the enemy was merely a fortunate soul who stumbled upon a firearm, never imagining he was a relentless killing machine. How could they advance now? Without a moment's thought, he instinctively made a decision: change course and flee. The 4 boats simultaneously cut their engines, sharply turning away. The small vessel that had been hit by the grenade had already completed its turn and was fleeing backward. Su Lang, clutching the grenade, watched the surreal scene unfold on the water before turning to Yuman. "You take the helm of the raft, we will pursue." With that, he hurled another grenade. It soared high and landed on the large ship. This time, Shin Xiong reacted swiftly. As the grenade hung in the air, he took a running leap toward the stern of the vessel. There was no splash, only the sound of the explosion accompanied by splintering wood. Zhang Long and the others, caught in the blast radius, were thrown into the air, screaming as they fell into the water. After executing a full 360-degree turn, the large ship revved its engines, accelerating wildly. Chapter 48. The unknown seeds of the underworld. The raft gradually adjusted its course. Su Lang stepped along the edge, consistently facing the direction of the enemy boats. He seized the rifle from his back and unleashed a volley at the large ship. The bullets struck the metallic hull, emitting sparks. No one aboard the vessel dared to show themselves, let alone retaliate. After firing his round, the clattering sounds of bullets echoed. He had not hit anyone, but rather vented his frustration. Was there only one gun on the opposing side? Tang Yao shared a similar sentiment. The more she shot, the more she relaxed. She aimed at the ship's edge, firing, and then re-aimed. Gradually, the distance between the enemy vessels widened, growing ever more remote. Su Lang sighed in exasperation. The raft's current speed was utterly inadequate. Should they continue the pursuit? Yes. After a brief contemplation, he resolved to press on. The example of Lu Yaohua served as a warning. Once an enemy had been made, it was unwise to leave any loose ends. If they could not catch up, they would keep the enemy at bay, forcing them to retreat, even if it meant cornering them against a sea monster. Tang Yao, switch places with Yuman at the helm. Su Lang instructed as he stowed away his weapon and turned. "We will continue the chase." Tang Yao complied, responding with a resolute "all right." As she made her way to the stern, in an instant, she comprehended Su Lang's intentions. Despite her concerns for the other fleeing vessels and the unknown marine creatures lurking beneath the surface, she resolutely supported his decision. Su Lang retrieved a cigarette, lit it, and gazed thoughtfully at the 5 ships in the distance. Zhao Yuman, seizing the opportunity, refrained from interrupting Su Lang's reverie and began contemplating what to prepare for dinner. One must admit, human adaptability is remarkably strong. A dignified and graceful wife had quickly acclimatized to the chaos of battle, her nerves considerably steeled. Exhaling a long plume of smoke, Su Lang opened the system panel. Host, Su Lang. Attributes, 110. Abilities, accelerated recovery, enhanced swimming, underwater breathing, scavenging points, 49. 663. Modification countdown, 28, 48, 52. The points were dwindling. After the modifications were completed tomorrow night, he would need to prepare to install the generator and household appliances, which would require a significant amount of points. System Father, draw from the level 4 prize pool. Today's grenades had proven invaluable, igniting a fervor within him to draw more rewards. Acquired 10 high-frequency walkie-talkies. His eyes brightened as he examined the description. The walkie-talkies operated on high-frequency channels, boasting a communication range of up to 20 kilometers. A splendid find. In the absence of a network, these devices represented the pinnacle of communication. However, they required recharging, and the raft's power supply had yet to be established. He continued drawing. Acquired 1 powerful searchlight, another excellent item, yet it too necessitated a power source. Drawing again. Acquired 1 unknown abyssal grass seed. Su Lang gazed in bewilderment at the new item in his inventory. The unknown energy emanating from the deep-sea rifts had caused a genetic mutation in the critically endangered deep-sea algae, resulting in abyssal grass. Typically found in perilous deep-sea rifts, the seeds could be inadvertently consumed by deep-sea fish and excreted elsewhere. Growing in underwater environments, it bore fruit in 7 days, with a chance for the consumer to undergo genetic mutation, awakening extraordinary powers. Su Lang was taken aback. A tingling sensation coursed through his scalp. His skin prickled as if his frozen body were basking in the warmth of the sun. Awakening extraordinary powers. System Father, what constitutes extraordinary power? It is precisely what you envision. With a mere thought, a seed the size of a mung bean materialized in his palm. The surface of the seed was smooth and rounded, presenting a dull golden hue reminiscent of a copper bead. Su Lang hastily procured an empty bucket, contemplated briefly, filled it with floodwater, and dropped the seed directly inside. The seed slowly sank to the bottom. After observing it for 2 minutes without any discernible change, he placed the bucket on the dining table. Now, all that remained was to wait. The description indicated it would bear fruit in 7 days, not a long time. When the time came, would consuming the fruit grant him extraordinary power? What might that extraordinary power entail? As he paused to ponder, a sudden thought of Liu Yaohua crossed his mind. The way he had controlled the flying spear and pistol from afar had astonished everyone. Initially, Su Lang had believed it to be a superpower, but now he recognized the inconsistencies. Liu Yaohua had merely been an ordinary person until he reappeared after a near-fatal dive, endowed with extraordinary abilities. Could it be? Had Liu Yaohua awakened? After a protracted period of contemplation, Su Lang's emotions gradually settled as the sky dimmed. He raised his binoculars to the distance, where the 5 ships appeared increasingly diminutive. Their course had remained unchanged throughout their escape, seemingly terrified by the grenades. He retrieved 2 outdoor lanterns and hung them up just as Zhao Yuman finished preparing dinner. Su Lang, what is this? She inquired, setting the dishes on the table and noticing the bucket atop it. Hee. Su Lang smiled mysteriously. This is something special. You'll find out in 7 days. Zhao Yuman rolled her eyes playfully, likely misinterpreting his excitement. Tang Yao, come eat, Su Lang added. Let the motor be. It's fine to let the raft drift for a while. Meanwhile, Shun Xiong lowered his binoculars, his expression gradually relaxing. Thankfully, that wooden raft was not moving swiftly. They were finally safe. After tending to the bodies of his fallen brothers, he proceeded to inspect the ship. He issued commands to those around him, inquiring about the damage to the other vessels. Brother Xiong, aside from the damage to the 4th ship, the others sustained minimal losses, one man reported. Shun Xiong squinted. How many perished on the 4th ship? 4. They were killed instantly in the explosion, the man quickly replied, his head downcast. Only 2 remain on board. After a moment of silence, Shun Xiong declared, shut down the engines. Let us fish for food. Brother Xiong, if we stop, won't the rafts behind us catch up? One man anxiously interjected. Shun Xiong waved dismissively. They won't catch up anytime soon. Keep your eyes peeled for any signs of the raft. With darkness approaching, continuing to flee without a plan could lead them to encounter Chen Jie and his group, which would be a true predicament. Upon hearing this, the crowd erupted in murmurs. The name Chen Jie haunted their minds like a nightmare, stirring up dreadful memories. Chen Jie, how could he forget that man? What should they do? Ahead lay Chen Jie, and behind them pursued a ruthless bomber. Silence. Shun Xiong bellowed, and the surroundings fell eerily quiet. His face darkened as he surveyed the crowd, speaking in a low voice. Listen to my orders. We will fish and eat immediately. After that, he turned to one individual. You go notify the other ships, after we eat. We will turn back under the cover of darkness, avoiding that raft. Chapter 49. Night falls on the raft. Su Lang savored the steak in his mouth, listening to the rain pouring outside. Under the warm yellow light, the youthful and vibrant Tang Yao, the mature and alluring Zhao Yuman, and the primitive wooden raft infused with apocalyptic vibes, alongside the upscale marble dining table and Australian steak, presented a paradoxical collage that often left him in a daze. Even if it were a dream, he wished for it to linger a little longer. Hence, regardless of hunger, flood, or the intentions of others seeking his demise, he would not yield. Su Lang, shall we continue the pursuit tonight? A gentle voice floated to his ear. Su Lang turned to meet Zhao Yuman's water-like gaze. It had grown dark, and visibility was poor. There was no need to press on blindly. He pondered for a moment before replying. However, we must remain vigilant tonight. As usual, we shall take turns keeping watch. Upon hearing this, both women nodded in agreement. After finishing dinner, Su Lang eagerly rose to take a shower. He had yet to experience the newly installed shower system. I'm heading to bed. I'll take the second half of the night watch. You two decide who will sleep first. With that, he opened the small wooden door and slipped inside. A brief silence enveloped the air. The two women exchanged glances, and as Zhao Yuman's smile shone, a blush crept onto Tang Yao's cheeks, revealing her bashfulness. How about we? She began hesitantly, but Zhao Yuman interjected, you should sleep first. Her expression gradually turned serious. Tang Yao, you are younger, smarter, and stronger than I am. I have always said I would follow your lead. Even if a third woman enters the picture, I will stand by your side. Therefore, you must embody the demeanor of a true mistress. Upon finishing her words in one breath, Zhao Yuman rose abruptly and began to tidy up the dishes on the table. Tang Yao, with her lips pressed together, rested her head on the table, lost in thought. Once Zhao Yuman completed her task, she moved a stool to the edge of the wooden raft and sat down to keep watch through the night. After a moment, Tang Yao took a deep breath and stood up, heading toward the shower room. The night was as dark as ink, devoid of any starlight or moonlight. On the boat where Shun Xiong was, a group of people sat in a circle, eating grilled fish and drinking fish soup. Completely oblivious to the atmosphere of danger that had permeated the afternoon, he meticulously wiped his standard-issue rifle, the events of that afternoon replaying vividly in his mind. He had clearly shot the man in the chest. How could he have escaped unharmed? Was it a bulletproof vest? Did that rickety raft carry not only explosives, but also bulletproof vests? Damn it! Shun Xiong cursed under his breath. The henchmen were startled by his sudden outburst, halting their actions. Brother Xiong, what's wrong? Turning to the crowd before him, Shun Xiong waved his hand, urging them to eat quickly before spinning on his heel to leave. A tempest of rage brewed within him, demanding an outlet. He kicked the wooden door of the cabin, which responded with a resounding thud. Inside, two women huddled in fright, trembling uncontrollably, wishing they could bury their heads in the ground. He stepped forward, grabbing one of the women by her hair, and regardless of her tearful pleas for mercy, he roughly pulled her up and forced her to kneel before him. Shun Xiong closed his eyes, releasing a long sigh. The others outside were already accustomed to the sound of the woman's cries. Brother Xiong, it has begun again, one of them remarked in a hushed tone. There are only two women left. Let us hope Brother Xiong doesn't kill them this time. Silence. Another hissed. Do you want to die? I was just joking. A man chuckled nervously. Brother Xiong, you can't hear us, right? Just as another man was about to speak, his expression suddenly froze, his eyes widening in alarm. Hey, have you gone stupid? The man noticed the change in his companion's demeanor and gradually pieced it together, believing Shun Xiong had emerged. He quickly turned around, but the deck behind him was empty. Just as he was about to curse, a bright light flashed across the sky at the boat's stern. The group sensed something was amiss and turned to look, spotting 3 searchlights sweeping across the distant water. An eerie silence enveloped the air. Could it be Qinjie? One hesitantly suggested. You jinx. Another exclaimed, quick, inform Brother Xiong. Instantly, chaos ensued. Bang. Brother Xiong, a ship is approaching. The voice disrupted Shun Xiong's critical moment. Damn it. Shun Xiong gritted his teeth. Stop shouting. What ship? How many? I can't see the number. There are at least 3 searchlights. Then what are we waiting for? Accelerate. He kicked the woman in front of him aside and strode toward the deck. Outside, the thunderous roar of engines filled the air as 5 boats began to speed up. Shun Xiong raised his binoculars to look back. On the pitch-black surface of the water, 3 beams of light roamed across their 5 vessels. Damn it, just when I thought I could avoid trouble, he muttered under his breath. Recalling that only Qinjie's gang had generators capable of powering 3 searchlights while recklessly navigating through the night, he turned and re-entered the cabin, reaching for the ship's intercom. Accelerate. Do not panic. Their speed is not faster than ours. Without waiting for a response from the other end of the intercom, he returned to the deck. Meanwhile, in the distance, 2 small boats flanked a larger vessel, cutting through the water at high speed. 3 searchlights pierced the darkness, guiding their path. Following closely behind the large ship were numerous small boats, some fast, others slow. At the rear of the small boat cluster, several crude rafts trailed behind, leaving a long wake. Inside the large ship's cabin, several figures sat in a circle, engaged in casual conversation. Captain, we've spotted 5 boats ahead. They appear to belong to Shen Xiong's gang, a man reported, pushing open the cabin door with authority. Shen Xiong? The man referred to as Captain replied, puzzled. Didn't they run far away already? How could we catch up? Shenjia, who is this Shen Xiong you speak of? Asked an elderly man with white hair, yet a lively spirit, Professor Wang from Su Lang's tower. Sir, Shenjia responded. Shen Xiong is a fisherman from Yinqing who came into possession of a standard military weapon and has committed many crimes along the way. I intended to eliminate this band of rogues when I encountered them, but their vessel was faster. I only managed to dismantle one of their boats, allowing him to escape. Alas, the old man sighed. In these apocalyptic times, without constraints, many have changed. He gazed at the endless night sky, reminiscent of Lu Yaohua from before. Captain, shall we pursue them? The man who had reported asked, noticing the conversation had strayed. Pursue. Chen Jie replied with a confident smile, his masculine features glowing with assurance. It's the perfect opportunity to test the sails made by old Zhou. Amidst the torrential downpour, a night chase was about to unfold. Chapter 50. Chen Jie on the raft. Zhao Yuman occasionally raised her headlamp to scan the water ahead. The large bed behind her had long since quieted, leaving only the sound of the rain. At that moment, she felt an unusual tranquility. Unbeknownst to her, the scheduled shift change was approaching. After a moment's contemplation, she decided to extend her watch to allow Su Lang a bit more rest. She couldn't fathom what Su Lang was made of. He was far too restless, and she scoffed at the thought. As a gentle breeze swept through, she tucked her tousled hair behind her ears and dismissed her idle thoughts. Holding the headlamp, she swept it across the distant water surface, observing for any anomalies. Just then, the night was pierced by the sound of a gunshot. Bang. Perhaps due to the distance, the sound was somewhat muffled. Zhao Yuman moved to the rear of the raft, raising her binoculars to investigate. However, all she could see was an impenetrable darkness. Was that a gunshot? At some point, Su Lang had appeared behind her and asked, "Did you hear that?" "Yes, I did," she replied, handing him the binoculars. He took them and peered through, but all he could see was the same inky blackness. "The closest gunfire is likely aimed at our 5 boats," Su Lang said. Furrowing his brow, Zhao Yuman bit her lip, awaiting his next words. By now, it had become second nature for her to let Su Lang make the decisions. Bang! The gunfire erupted again. "The firing position is quite far from us," Zhao Yuman remarked. Su Lang nodded slightly and raised the binoculars once more. Through the lenses, the distant darkness remained indistinguishable, neither sky nor water. Suddenly, a white beam of light sliced through the void, resembling a sweeping blow, fleeting as a flash. "A searchlight?" Su Lang noted, recognizing that it was approaching them. He turned to her, "Go wake Tang Yao." With that, he started the engine, and the raft began to accelerate. Soon, the 2 women approached Su Lang side by side, with Zhao Yuman whispering to Tang Yao about the situation. "You both put on the bulletproof vests and helmets first. Be careful," Su Lang instructed softly. The 2 women nodded and immediately began to gear up. "Su Lang, will we just let them go?" Tang Yao inquired. Her heart filled with confusion. They had been pursuing for half a day, so why not confront them now? "I have no intention of letting them escape." Su Lang shook his head, meeting their puzzled gazes. He elaborated. "The night is too dark. We cannot see anything clearly. The enemy's gunfire indicates a conflict with a third party, and we cannot ascertain who is stronger or weaker. If we foolishly wait here or plunge into the darkness, the situation will become even more chaotic." Tang Yao and her companion exchanged looks of realization. They had not anticipated Su Lang's capacity for such quick contemplation, and their admiration for him grew, their gazes becoming increasingly fervent. "Shall we wait until dawn to engage?" Zhao Yuman asked. Su Lang smiled. "Ideally, it would be perfect to hold out until morning. However, you seem to have forgotten one crucial detail." "What?" Zhao Yuman became curious. "Our raft is not as swift as their boats," Su Lang stated solemnly. The 2 women gasped in realization, finally grasping the situation. Su Lang appointed Zhao Yuman to steer while he turned back to scan the surroundings. It struck him as odd that, beneath the pitch-black sky, gunfire had not echoed for some time. After a brief interval, a white beam of light flickered across the horizon. In the distance behind the raft, the battle had already commenced. Shen Xiong's 5 boats had now dwindled to 4, desperately fleeing ahead. A large ship pursued closely, its sails raised. The sails bore numerous patches, seemingly stitched together, billowing in the night wind. "Brother Xiong, that ship is too fast. What if we can't shake it off?" A panicked voice exclaimed. Shun Xiong stood at the stern, watching the leisurely pursuing ship with a grim expression. Damn it, when did Chun Jie acquire a sail? After gritting his teeth and cursing, he received no reply. At that moment, the large ship drew nearer, its spotlight piercing through the rain, blinding Shun Xiong and his crew. Help! We're going to collide. Someone screamed in terror. Shun Xiong grabbed a rifle from behind and fired blindly, but it was futile. Suddenly, the sound of slicing wind emerged as a hook-like shadow swiftly approached. Shun Xiong's hair stood on end, his mind frozen in shock. Yet, the shadow's target was not Shun Xiong, but rather another small boat nearby. With a crack, the shadow embedded itself in the small vessel, revealing its true form. A massive metal hook, dark and slightly rusted, weighed no less than 100 pounds. The hook was tethered to a thick metal chain, which was rapidly tightening. The tremendous force jolted the small boat. Several men aboard shouted in alarm. We're caught. Quickly, cut it loose. The men wielded various knives and axes, desperately hacking at the hook and chain. However, their efforts were in vain. The small boat slowed down, steadily being pulled toward the large ship. We're doomed. Brother Xiong, help! Despairing cries echoed from the boat. Shun Xiong's face darkened, his expression grim as he contemplated no viable solution. At that moment, a figure slowly appeared on the deck of the large ship, a man with distinct features, thick brows, and prominent eyes. It was Captain Chen Jie. After testing the waters, he confirmed there was only one gun on the opposing side. One man stood beside Chen Jie. The gun was on the middle ship, and Shun Xiong was certainly aboard. Chen Jie nodded. We have a speed advantage. Let us not rush. On the deck, 3 burly men were vigorously turning a winch. As the winch turned, the thick iron chain pulled the small boat closer. First, let us deal with the other 3 boats. Chen Jie waved his hand. Now follow me. As soon as he spoke, the small boat was yanked to the edge of the larger vessel. Chen Jie charged forward, wielding a hefty metal pipe. With a powerful leap, he descended onto the small boat. Fight! Let us go, brothers! The crew shouted, brandishing their weapons and rushing towards Chen Jie. With a dull thud, Chen Jie landed in a crouch on the small boat's deck. Without glancing at the crew, he tightened his grip on his weapon and swung fiercely. The sound of cracking bones and spitting blood resonated simultaneously. The 2 fastest assailants were sent flying as if struck by a truck, unable to emit a single scream. The air fell into a profound silence. The remaining 2 stood frozen on the deck, as if their feet were nailed to the ground. A chilling dread began to seep into their very beings. Chen Jie, as mere foot soldiers aboard Shun Xiong's ship, the men understood that consuming fish could enhance their strength. Through their diet, they had doubled their power, briefly experiencing the thrill of being strongmen. Yet, the weapon before them clearly defied all logic. With its brown paint and typical fire hose design, measuring about 2 meters in length, it appeared to weigh at least 200 pounds. Was it reasonable to wield it like a club? The sound of swallowed saliva echoed across the deck. The whispers of monsters were quietly carried away by the night wind. Chen Jie showed no sign of emotion. In his mind, the only fitting judgment for these villains was death. Gripping the pipe tightly, he spun around and swung it like a top. The slicing wind surged as the 2 henchmen failed to react in time. The metal pipe struck them with force. Accompanied by a dull thud, their bodies shattered, erupting in a spray of blood. The 2 corpses, like rag dolls, soared high before plummeting into the relentless waters. Captain, have you taken care of them again? One man leaped onto the deck, surveying the scene with resignation. Chen Jie did not turn back, clean up, and see if there are any supplies. He glanced at the corpses on the deck, casually kicking them into the water as one might kick a discarded can. Moments later, a report came in, no valuable items found. Chen Jie nodded. Let us go. This ship is still usable. Leave it for those behind. After saying this, he handed the weapon back to the larger ship and approached the hook. With both hands gripping the metal claw, he exerted force with his legs. The small boat swayed slightly underfoot. To his astonishment, the heavy hook was easily extracted as if it were a plastic toy. On the raft, a gunshot rang out in the distance. Su Lang listened intently, but after that, an extended silence ensued. Gradually, he became anxious. The 2 groups in the distance continued to clash, yet he could not glean any further information. Thinking the worst. If both factions harbored malicious intent and were intent on fighting over supplies and women, should they be caught before dawn, they would face the most chaotic scenario. With limited visibility, the effectiveness of sniper and assault rifles would diminish significantly at night. Grenades might still be useful, but their numbers seemed insufficient. It all depended on the Tani. With this thought, Su Lang handed the binoculars to Tang Yao. Tang Yao, you keep watch. Call me if anything happens. After speaking, he walked to the other end of the raft. A solitary stool stood at the edge of the wooden raft. Su Lang pulled out a cigarette, lit it, and sat down. Tani, bring us something good. The level 4 prize pool requires 1,000 points for a draw. Are you sure? Give me 10 consecutive draws. Receive 10 boxes of bagged black coffee. A series of food supplies flashed before Su Lang's eyes, causing a slight heaviness in his heart. Received a large capacity battery. Su Lang's eyes brightened. Batteries? Such a valuable item. When he finally transforms the raft completely, this floating home will be able to utilize electrical appliances. Receive primordial ore from the abyss. What? They're S or 2? System, did you make a mistake? At this moment, it's better not to question. Silence is golden. Su Lang patiently examined his inventory, discovering a freshly minted ore. Description: extracted from deep-sea fissures, the primordial ore appears unremarkable, but is, in fact, indestructible. Indestructible? Isn't it just a lump? Su Lang couldn't help but scoff. Detected fluctuations of abyssal energy within the host's space. If this substance is added to the primordial ore, it can be upgraded. Su Lang was utterly perplexed. Abyssal energy? What on earth is that? I've never even heard of it. Show me the upgrade plan. Items are currently undergoing upgrade. Do you wish to interrupt? No. What a joke. I've waited for over 10 hours. Only a fool would interrupt now. Whatever this abyssal energy is, I'll research it next time. Then it suddenly hit him. Had he just lost an entire 1,000 points? A single battery and a lump of ore made Su Lang feel as if his heart were bleeding. System, lend me a hand. Let us draw again. Received 1 ton of beef shank. Another series of food. Received 10 universal antidotes. Not bad. The more medicine, the better. Received 10 high-grade sleeping bags. Received a single-man rocket launcher. Received 100 rockets. Nice. Su Lang threw a punch in the air, exclaiming, "Love you, system. This is exactly what I wanted." After 2 rounds of 10 consecutive draws, he still had over 30,000 points left, which was acceptable. With a thought, the rocket launcher appeared in his arms. An influx of information about the weapon's usage flooded his mind. After a brief exploration, he grasped the knowledge and felt a sense of relief. 100 rockets would be more than sufficient for the current situation, unless they were faced with a naval warship. Su Lang chuckled at the absurdity of that notion and pushed it aside. Su Lang, I see a ship. Tang Yao's voice came from the rear of the raft. He stored the rocket launcher back into his space and hurried to the 2 women. Taking the binoculars offered by Tang Yao, he gazed into the distance. Beneath the dark night sky, a white beam of light shone distinctly. As the spotlight swayed from side to side, Su Lang gradually discerned the outlines of 2 ships. 2. He blinked in surprise, then pressed the binoculars closer to confirm. It was indeed only 2. During the day, they had been pursuing 5 ships. Could they not be from the same group? Or had 3 been damaged? With that thought, Su Lang furrowed his brow. If that were the case, it suggested that a 3rd group behind them was quite formidable. Su Lang, what shall we do now? Zhao Yuman inquired. Maintain this speed. Tang Yao interjected. But we're moving slowly. They'll catch up sooner or later. Don't worry. Su Lang lowered the binoculars, assuring them that even if they could catch up, it wouldn't be immediate. Observing the slightly anxious expressions on the 2 women's faces, he spoke slowly, trying to keep his voice calm. We have ample time to observe and make decisions. At his words, the 2 women ceased their questions. Time passed slowly. There had been no gunfire from behind the raft for a long while. Tang Yao couldn't sit still, repeatedly lifting the binoculars to observe. Beside her, Zhao Yuman steered the raft, occasionally glancing back. They could only see the spotlight's beam intermittently slicing through the darkness. The distance between the beam and the raft was gradually shrinking. Su Lang retrieved the powerful spotlight he had drawn earlier, intending to illuminate the situation ahead for convenience. After fiddling with it for a while, he realized it required power to operate. After some thought, he decided to bring out the generator as well. He filled it with gasoline, connected the spotlight, and started it up. The buzzing sound of operation was not overly loud. Su Lang, it seems another ship has disappeared. Chapter 52 Mutation. On the large ship, Chun Jie stood straight at the bow, breathing slightly heavily. The spotlight's intense light pierced through the rain, shining straight toward the only remaining small boat. Suddenly, the small boat sharply veered to the left. Left, the man on watch shouted while quickly signaling with his hands. The command was executed, and the large ship turned left, closing in on the small boat once more. With the aid of the sails, the distance was shrinking bit by bit. The small boat had attempted sudden maneuvers to shake off its pursuers multiple times, but each attempt had proven futile. Captain, Shin Xiong must be on that last boat, one man remarked. Shin Jie nodded. It was precisely because gunfire occasionally erupted from that boat that he had chosen to leave it for last. Shin Xiong has a gun. Let us charge ahead, Captain. Another suggested. Yes, Captain, you shouldn't take that risk. Let us go first. People on the deck began to voice their concerns. Chen Jie raised his hand to silence them. I am the captain. There is no reason for me to hide in the back. With that, he walked toward the grappling hook on the deck. Captain, you can't go. You must consider the bigger picture. If you are injured, so many people depend on you for protection. It's fine if we get hurt. As long as we don't die, we can recover. The crowd urged him, as the captain held an immensely important position in their hearts, and no one wished to see him take risks. Chen Jie pressed his lips together, his expression resolute. He was a recently discharged soldier, urgently recalled by Daxiao after the disaster struck. The duty of a Daxiao soldier is to protect the homeland, and fear of danger has never been an option. Chen Jie, I have a suggestion. A venerable voice came from behind. Chen Jie was taken aback and turned to look. Professor Wang, clad in a raincoat, was approaching him. Since Shun Xiong's boat cannot escape, why don't we keep it in suspense until dawn? Upon hearing this, a glimmer of understanding crossed Chen Jie's face. The professor meant to wait until dawn to take action? The professor did not answer directly, but slowly elaborated. Keeping it in suspense will continuously drain the opponent's morale. Unable to fight back or flee, they will only exhaust themselves in the end. Moreover, when dawn arrives and visibility improves, even if they have guns, we can minimize the risks. Listening to the elder's words, Chen Jie nodded repeatedly. After a moment of contemplation, he commanded, let us do as the professor suggested. If we get too close, we'll lower the sails. If we're further away, we'll hoist them again, ensuring Shun Xiong cannot escape. The others responded in unison, yes, Captain. Chen Jie accompanied Professor Wang to the cabin to rest. Professor, you shouldn't be out in such heavy rain. Take care of your health. The old man smiled, unfazed by his concern. It's good to move around a bit. I can't just sit here and eat for nothing, can I? Professor, you jest. There is no need for you to do the work. Chen Jie opened the small door to the cabin, gesturing for the elder to enter first. Doing what I can, even if it's just speaking, brings me some peace of mind. The two men entered the cabin. The overhead light was off, and only a crude homemade oil lamp on the table flickered with a small flame. Bathed in the feeble glow of the flame, they carefully navigated past the shadows of those sleeping on the floor and approached the central table. Chen Jie inquired, Teacher, would you like to rest a bit longer? The elderly man shook his head. At his age, he seldom felt drowsy. Chen Jie ceased further conversation, moved aside, and rummaged for a moment before retrieving a small pouch of tea leaves. Then allow me to brew you a cup of tea. No need. The elder waved his hand in refusal, noting that tea was a scarce commodity and should not be wasted. Chen Jie remained silent, but his actions of preparing water did not falter. Seeing his persistence, the elder relented and shifted the topic. Chen Jie, what is the source of the strength you possess? Startled, Chen Jie understood the question pertained to his extraordinary power. Upon seeing the elder nod, he pondered for a moment before slowly responding. I cannot precisely explain this transformation. It begins with our battle against the creatures from the depths. He paused, seemingly lost in memory, while the elder patiently awaited his account. That day, our ship was ensnared by a colossal octopus, and our bullets inflicted no damage upon the beast. We could only watch helplessly as it gradually dragged our vessel beneath the waves. Everyone abandoned ship and jumped into the water, but there were only a few lifeboats available. At that moment, it became a frenzied feast for the underwater creatures. As he recounted this, the resolute man's eyes began to glisten with unshed tears as he recalled his fallen comrades. Most of the crew became food for the monstrous fish, and I was bitten as well. In that critical moment, a fellow soldier pulled me onto a piece of wood. My shoulders and arms were wounded from the bites, and I lay there in the rain. At this point, a look of confusion crossed Chen Jie's face. I do not know how I survived. When I awoke, I was already on this ship, saved by my comrade. Shortly thereafter, I noticed changes in my body. My strength had increased to at least 5 times its previous capacity. He paused, fixing an earnest gaze upon the elder. Teacher, at that time, no one consumed any fish. Professor Wang squinted his murky eyes. Is this unrelated to the flesh of the monstrous fish? Chen Jie nodded emphatically. It seems that my body has undergone some form of mutation. I do not need to eat fish. Each time after battle, even after training alone, my strength continues to augment. The elder was taken aback, continuously growing stronger. He absorbed the implications of Chen Jie's words, his pupils narrowing with astonishment and curiosity about the unknown miracle. To what extent has your strength increased? Chen Jie clenched his fist, a confident smile gracing his lips. Perhaps to 10 times the original. What? The elder exclaimed in disbelief. Though he could not visualize the magnitude of such strength, he comprehended that this figure transcended the bounds of scientific explanation. Chen Jie, undeterred by the elder's astonishment, continued to methodically prepare the tea. The elder hastily queried, "Is your strength still on the rise?" "Yes," Chen Jie affirmed with a nod. "Though the increase is slight, I can distinctly feel that it is indeed still growing. This is truly astonishing." The elder sighed. "If we could explain this phenomenon, it might provide us with the means to combat the deep-sea creatures." "Teacher, to be frank," Chen Jie stated seriously, "the military has obtained some research findings." Chapter 53. Should we be concerned? Inside the cabin, the elder's breathing grew noticeably heavier. Devoting his life to scientific inquiry, his eyes sparkled with an unyielding thirst for knowledge. The military had acquired numerous specimens of large creatures, transporting them back for research purposes. As for the latest findings, that remained unknown. Chen Jie spoke softly. Upon hearing this, Professor Wang sighed in resignation. "Perhaps we must reach Taoshan to gather more information." "Teacher, please have some tea," Chen Jie gently reminded, pouring the tea. The elder lifted the cup to his lips, savoring the taste. "This flavor is one I have not experienced in a long time. Indeed, it is quite delightful." Chen Jie agreed, taking a sip and releasing a contented sigh. "If you enjoy it, you may keep the remaining tea leaves." "No need, no need. These are precious resources." On the small boat, Shun Xiong's mental state was fraying. He had watched helplessly as the nearby vessel was seized by a strange claw and dragged away, never to return. Each time, he fired his weapon in a futile attempt to deter the enemy, hoping to inflict at least some damage. Yet, the larger ship remained elevated, and its crew remained conspicuously cautious, never revealing themselves. Having exhausted all his ammunition, he could not alter the fate of the 4 boats that had vanished in succession. Fear grew like a vine, choking his heart. In his line of sight, the large ship raised its sails once more, propelled by the night wind, and surged forward with alarming speed, visibly closing the distance between them. "Damn it! Let us fight!" Shen Xiong roared. The few remaining men on the boat trembled at his shout, gripping their weapons tightly as they clustered behind him. Shen Xiong wielded a steel fork. His only gun had been discarded in a corner, rendered useless without bullets. As the large ship drew nearer, Shen Xiong took a deep breath and shouted, "I, Shen Xiong, will stand with you all to the death today. No one is permitted to retreat." The others echoed his resolve. "No one retreats. Let us fight." The large ship approached within 10 meters when it suddenly halted, its speed gradually decreasing, the distance between the 2 vessels widening. Shen Xiong and the others felt a surge of relief wash over them. 2 men, their guards lowered, plopped down onto the rain-soaked deck. Amidst their gratitude, Shen Xiong felt a flicker of confusion. In previous encounters, the enemy had aggressively launched their claws in a direct assault. Why this time had they merely tested the waters before retreating, without even deploying their claws? Did they fear the gun in his possession? If that were the case, then damn Chen Jie better not return. Yet, such optimistic wishes were merely fantasies. Minutes later, the distant ship raised its sails once again, accelerating toward them. Shen Xiong's heart raced to his throat. Were they truly coming this time? The absence of gunfire earlier, did that mean they were no longer afraid? Without time to ponder further, Shen Xiong called for reinforcements. "Damn it, this time we really have to fight." The men hastily armed themselves, gathering in anticipation. When the large ship drew closest, everyone braced for the expected claw to be thrown. Yet, astonishingly, the vessel once again furled its sails, slowing down and retreating. The tension in the group gradually dissipated. Minutes later, the large ship surged forward from behind once more, playing with Shen Xiong and his men in a relentless cycle. Shen Xiong began to discern the enemy's intentions, silently cursing, yet feeling powerless to act. Just as everyone's attention was fixated on the approaching large ship, someone suddenly exclaimed, "Brother Xiong, look ahead." Hearing the voice, Shen Xiong rushed to the bow of the ship. In the distance, a wooden raft floated along the water's current, its surface aglow with a faint light. In stark contrast to the harrowing scene of their frantic escape, the individuals on the raft appeared remarkably at ease. Wait, was that raft familiar? Indeed, it was the very same man who had unleashed bombs during the day. One of the younger members, quick-eyed, recognized him instantly, with a tiger behind and wolves ahead. What were they to do? Upon hearing this, Shen Xiong felt a heaviness in his heart, and with a fierce punch, he struck the side of the boat. Cursing under his breath, in a flash of inspiration, he made a decisive command: turn the helm, accelerate, and navigate around. He was acutely aware that the raft's speed was limited and clung to a sliver of hope. What if the people on the raft were asleep? On the raft, Tang Yao peered through binoculars while Su Lang rested on a stool, eyes closed. An hour prior, Su Lang had lowered the binoculars, confusion etched across his features. He could not fathom how the combatants had so abruptly fallen silent. Mere moments before, a vessel had been destroyed, and now, it seemed as if nothing had occurred. 2 boats drifted under the cloak of night, drawing closer to Su Lang's raft. Even the searchlight from behind sporadically illuminated the small craft's path. Dismissing the confusion, he reclined on the stool, waiting. An hour passed. Su Lang, they are quite near, Tang Yao whispered gently. Su Lang opened his eyes and approached her, foregoing the binoculars to instead raise his sniper rifle, taking aim. Indeed, they were close now, and the small boat was brightly lit by the searchlight, revealing everything clearly. The build and attire of the man at the bow matched that of the one who had shot at him during the day. It was unmistakably the same group. Before he could speak, Tang Yao voiced, "That's them from earlier." Su Lang nodded, stowing the sniper rifle and retrieving the individual rocket launcher. Upon seeing the weapon in his hands, Tang Yao gasped, her eyes widening in surprise, not at the weapon itself, as she had become accustomed to firearms, but at the chilling presence of such a devastating instrument. The cold intent of death felt almost tangible, sending shivers through her body. With practiced ease, Su Lang hoisted the rocket launcher onto his shoulder, squinting as he took aim. Suddenly, the small boat veered, and a large vessel behind it reacted swiftly, following suit. "You man, steer closer to the small boat. Tang Yao, try to illuminate it with the searchlight," Su Lang instructed rapidly, leveling his arms to aim. Zhao Yuman, skilled in her operations, complied, while Tang Yao fumbled to activate the searchlight. The brilliant beam tore through the night, startling the occupants of both vessels. "Don't rush. You man, our raft isn't fast. Let us approach steadily." Su Lang assessed the distance. Since the small boat had already been spotted, there was no way it could circumvent the raft without a significant speed advantage. What a foolish thought, he mused. After some struggle, Tang Yao finally managed to direct the beam onto the small boat. "There's still a large ship behind us. Should we be concerned?" she inquired. Chapter 54. We'll discuss it at dawn in the cabin of the large ship. Professor Wang and Chun Jie sipped tea when suddenly, the door burst open. "Captain, a wooden raft has appeared ahead." The voice came from outside the cabin. Chun Jie paused momentarily, then replied, "Ignore the raft. Just follow Shen Xiong." "But that raft seems suspicious, as if it's blocking Shen Xiong's path," came the hesitant response from outside. "Blocking Shen Xiong?" Upon hearing this, Chun Jie rushed to the deck without further ado, leaving Professor Wang behind. The man outside hurried to catch up, reporting, after spotting the raft. Shen Xiong's boat turned to the left. He paused, then continued, "The raft is also turning left and has activated a powerful searchlight." Chun Jie listened intently, taking the binoculars and bringing them to his eyes. From the elevated position of the large ship, he could clearly see the situation on the water. Indeed, as the man had said, there was a dark shape ahead casting a strong beam onto Shen Xiong's vessel. The small boat had deviated from the current, attempting to circumvent the raft, which was likewise maneuvering toward the small boat with clear intent to intercept it. Planning to seize the small boat was Chun Jie's immediate thought. In a world ravaged by disaster, it was not uncommon to witness such desperate attempts for resources or women. "Chun Jie, what is going on?" An elderly voice interrupted his contemplation. Chun Jie snapped back to reality, responding with a hint of exasperation, "Professor, why are you out again? I couldn't sleep. So I came to see what was happening," Professor Wang replied, donning a raincoat. "I heard about the raft. What is going on?" Relenting to the elder's persistence, Chun Jie handed over the binoculars, adding, "The raft seems to have set its sights on Shen Xiong." "Captain, should we continue to follow?" the man outside asked. Chun Jie furrowed his brow, contemplating, "Reel in the sails and maintain our distance." The man complied, shouting orders to the crew. The deck fell into a brief silence. As the sails were stowed, the speed gradually decreased, and Shen Xiong's boat began to pull away. "Chun Jie," the elder spoke softly. "Are you planning to observe while they fight?" "Indeed," Chun Jie nodded. The raft's posture was overtly hostile. It was best to let them engage first. "We will simply follow behind and wait for the outcome. Regardless of who prevails, we will easily handle the aftermath." The elder pondered for a moment, then inquired, "That sounds well, but what if the raft wins?" Chun Jie raised an eyebrow. "The raft is eager for conflict from the outset. It's highly likely they share Shen Xiong's disposition, having blood on their hands. If I encounter them, I shall not hesitate to take action." As they spoke, the small boat receded further away, yet drew closer to the raft. Chun Jie, taking the binoculars from the elder, gazed with interest. The raft's speed appeared lackluster. What could it possibly do to impede the small boat? He envisioned himself on the raft, contemplating the use of extraordinary strength to launch grappling hooks. Just then, a muffled sound erupted from the raft, followed by a plume of white smoke. Due to the distance, the sound was drowned out by the rain, and Chun Jie heard nothing. He only saw a brilliant streak shoot from the raft, trailing a tail as it plunged into the small boat. Moments later, An earth-shattering explosion resonated through the night sky. Boom. The blast erupted from within the small boat, a violent orange fireball expanding rapidly, consuming everything in its vicinity. The vessel was torn apart as if it were mere paper. Twisted metal, shattered wood, and indistinct human figures were propelled outward by the shockwave in all directions. This all transpired in the blink of an eye, leaving not only Chun Jie stunned, but also the remaining crew on the large ship, their heads ringing from the explosion. Did the fuel barrels explode? One murmured. No, Chun Jie replied, his brow furrowed deeply. Others might not recognize it, but his military background made it painfully clear. The trail of white smoke, coupled with the explosive effect, immediately led him to the conclusion. It was a portable rocket launcher. Upon uttering this, his expression turned grave. Given the stringent regulation of weaponry by the Great Xia, acquiring a modified homemade firearm would be a serious crime. How could such a devastating weapon possibly appear in the outside world? Could it be the military? Or perhaps, like Shen Xiong, it was an accidental find? The former option was more palatable, but if it were the latter, then the trouble before him would be considerable. On the raft, Su Lang took a deep breath. The smoke from this device was overwhelming. Not far away, dense black smoke billowed from the small boat, as red flames rolled across the deck, transforming the vessel into a veritable hell. The hull emitted a cacophony of creaking metal as it disintegrated at an alarming pace, with torrents of water flooding into its body. Moments ago, the surface had held a floating craft. Now, it was left with only boiling sea water, burning debris, and an unidentifiable wreckage. Let us depart. Su Lang gently patted Tang Yao, then called towards the rear of the raft. You man, steer the rudder. We shall continue our journey with the current. Tang Yao inquired. What about the large ship behind us? Do not concern yourself with it. Su Lang pondered for a moment and opted to light a cigarette. After taking a deep drag, he slowly replied, there is no reason to engage unless they provoke us. If they leave us be, then so be it. He raised his gaze to the sky. We shall speak of this once dawn arrives. Tang Yao silently nodded. Thus, the raft gradually adjusted its course, resuming its drift with the current. Su Lang stowed his weapon away, placed it in storage, and with a cigarette between his lips, he moved to the rear of the raft. I'll keep watch over the ship behind. You two should rest for a bit. Zhao Yuman obediently rose and made her way to the large bed. Exhausted, she felt no concern for the ship behind, reassured by Su Lang's presence. Tang Yao hesitated, choosing not to leave, but instead brought over a stool to sit beside him. Are you not tired? Su Lang glanced at the large ship, maintaining a distance neither too close nor too far. Tang Yao replied nasally. Are you frightened? No, I just miss home, she murmured, leaning her head against Su Lang's shoulder. Su Lang was somewhat taken aback. Noticing the redness in her eyes from the corner of his vision, he opened his mouth, wanting to offer comfort, yet found himself at a loss for words. So he simply held her tightly. The world was harsh. The chances of survival for everyone were slim. This was the reality. To voice such sentiments would be excessively cruel. He turned his head, gazing at the large ship behind them, which remained at a steady distance, making no unusual movements. Perhaps they too intended to wait until dawn? The atmosphere settled into silence, punctuated only by the sound of rain cascading around them. Chapter 55. The military indeed suffered defeat as dawn gradually broke. Chun Jie pushed open the cabin door and stepped onto the deck, rubbing his face vigorously to dispel the morning drowsiness. Last night, after a brief consultation with Professor Wang, they abandoned the idea of a direct assault and decided to remain stationary. After a long night, he finally managed to catch a little sleep inside the cabin. Captain, the raft is moving slowly. Even without sails, we are nearing it. One individual reported rapidly, following closely behind Chun Jie. Chun Jie remained silent, lifting his binoculars for a careful observation. They were indeed quite close now. The people on the raft seemed to have their own agenda, completely ignoring the presence of their large ship and continuing their navigation. The only certainty was that the other party did not appear to be bloodthirsty. The fact that they had not fired a rocket at such a close range was telling. Perhaps we should disregard that raft altogether, someone hesitantly suggested. Shall we halt and wait for the main force behind us? The image of a rocket striking Shen Xiong, leaving him no chance to struggle, flashed through his mind as the small boat was instantly obliterated. If the raft showed no hostility, why provoke them? No, Chun Jie firmly rejected. They have a rocket launcher. A formidable weapon. I cannot ignore this. Although he had retired, he never forgot his identity as a soldier. Every action must safeguard the interests of the Great Xia. You are correct, Chun Jie. Professor Wang's voice came unexpectedly from the bow of the ship. Chun Jie turned to see the elder's face adorned with a look of approval. When disaster strikes, we must avoid internal conflict. uniting to face the calamity rather than wielding weapons against one another. The elder's words resonated deeply within Chenjia, and he nodded repeatedly. Chenjia, what are your plans? Professor Wang inquired. Sir, I believe such weaponry should be under the control of the state, Chenjia replied earnestly. He gazed towards the bow. I intend to approach and make contact. If they are military personnel, that is one matter. If they are civilians, I will urge them to surrender the weapons to the state. The elder pondered for a long while before nodding in caution. Be careful. On the raft, Su Lang manipulated the propeller with one hand while exhaling smoke with the other. The large ship behind him seemed to have reached an unspoken understanding, quietly trailing the raft. He found this arrangement acceptable. As long as they did not harbor ill intentions towards the raft, all would remain well. Su Lang, you should eat first. Tang Yao's voice called from beside him. He secured the control stick with 2 stools and rose to head towards the dining table. Although this would cause a slight drift in the raft, it was manageable enough to allow for temporary autopilot. 2 plates of stir-fried dishes lay on the table, while the staple was porridge. The glossy appearance of the food instantly whetted Su Lang's appetite. The cuisine prepared by the 2 women clearly reflected their distinct styles. While Zhao Yuman often made pasta, Tang Yao favored stir-fries, with steaks and seafood left aside. Without hesitation, Su Lang sat down and took a hearty gulp of porridge, ready to indulge. At that moment, Zhao Yuman awoke and rushed straight to the shower. Tang Yao sat beside Su Lang, the worry on her face dissipating. Her vibrant spirit restored. Seeing her this way, Su Lang felt relieved and focused on the meal before him. Hey, Zhao Yuman remarked, that ship seems to be getting closer. Don't mind it. Just eat, Su Lang replied without turning around. Hearing this, Zhao Yuman promptly took her seat. A little over 10 minutes later, Su Lang contentedly belched, cigarette in mouth, and moved towards the rear of the raft. Gazing at the approaching ship, his cheerful mood began to fade. Prolonging this situation was untenable. Not only did it demand his attention, but it also hindered him from collecting any debris. What if he simply fired a couple of shots? After all, it was the apocalypse. There was no need for excessive caution. While he contemplated this, a loud shout pierced the air. Friend, may we have a word? Su Lang paused. Taken aback. Here we go again, another discussion. He hadn't forgotten the bullet that had struck him the previous day. However, the one calling for negotiation had already met a grim fate. Su Lang remained silent, first checking his bulletproof vest, then donning his helmet. Only then did he part the curtain and stand at the edge, taking a deep breath before shouting, There's nothing to discuss. The road is wide. We shall each go our own way. After a moment's wait, another voice from the large ship called out, I am a soldier. You can trust me. In the face of disaster, we should unite. Unite? Su Lang chuckled. Unite? How could he collect debris then? Just as he was about to continue his refusal, a sudden spark of inspiration struck him, catching the key word, soldier. With a deft flick of his right hand, a small box, no larger than a palm, materialized out of thin air. Upon opening it, a square crystal radiating a soft blue light was revealed within. This gem had been acquired from Zhao Yu, who had mentioned that the military was in need of such crystals. Perhaps it could serve as a conduit for information from the soldiers aboard the large vessel. Su Lang pondered for a moment before calling out, Very well, I trust the military. We can discuss this. He approached and turned off the motor, causing the wooden raft to gradually slow down. He then advised the 2 women accompanying him, You need not reveal yourselves. I will ascertain what they wish to negotiate. Tang Yao and Zhao Yuman hurriedly donned their bulletproof vests, nodding in agreement. The large ship approached at an astonishing speed, slightly adjusting its bow to avoid colliding with the raft. After a brief span of breaths, the thunderous roar of the engine faded, and the ship glided alongside the raft. Now scarcely 10 meters apart, Su Lang stood at the edge of the raft, fully armed, awaiting the encounter. Due to the height of the ship's hull, he had to tilt his head back to scan the deck, unable to discern the situation above. At that moment, a man appeared at the edge of the vessel, his robust figure discernible even beneath a raincoat. My name is Chun Jia, a retired soldier of the Great Xia, he declared, his voice deep and resonant. The bulletproof vest and helmet he observed on the opposite figure appeared remarkably advanced, far beyond anything he had encountered during his service. Suppressing his curiosity, he refrained from asking directly. Su Lang instinctively straightened his posture. Su Lang, a university student. The act of standing tall was an ingrained sign of respect towards soldiers. Hearing the authoritative tone in Chun Jia's voice, an elder on the deck lifted his gaze, a flicker of confusion crossing his features. Su Lang, why did you confront Shin Xiong last night and kill him with a rocket launcher? Chun Jia inquired bluntly. They attempted to attack me with 5 small boats and even fired a shot at me. Once I recognized them, retribution was inevitable, Su Lang replied candidly. Then, With a glint in his eye, he posed a question of his own. I heard the military went to combat those sea monsters but faced defeat? Shinjia responded. Though it pains me to admit, the military indeed suffered losses at the first line of defense. With a sigh, he continued, you are not a soldier. Might you share the origin of your weapon? Apologies, Su Lang replied, pursing his lips, but I cannot disclose that information. Chapter 56. The purpose of the crystal. Chunjia's reaction was entirely within his expectations. After a moment of contemplation, he spoke slowly, I understand. In this apocalyptic world, everyone seeks to protect themselves. However, he shifted the tone of his voice, adopting a more serious demeanor. Heavy weaponry like a rocket launcher poses an uncontrollable risk in civilian hands, potentially leading to greater chaos. Such arms should only be wielded by the military. Fixing his gaze on Su Lang, he added, for the sake of Great Xiao, I hope you will surrender it. On what grounds? Su Lang replied, a smirk curling at the corners of his mouth. In this world, weapons are safest in one's own hands. Without it, I would have been killed by Shin Xiong yesterday. Am I to relinquish my weapon based solely on your word? The air grew tense in an instant. Shin Jia had not anticipated such a decisive refusal. Just as he was about to persist in his persuasion, a frail voice resonated from behind him. Shin Jia, allow me to converse with this young friend. Turning in confusion, Shin Jia saw Professor Wang approaching the ship's edge, his steps steady and assured. The elder halted beside him, gazing at the fully armed figure opposite, his wrinkled face gradually breaking into a smile. Young man, do you still remember me? Su Lang shifted his gaze beneath his helmet. Despite the raincoat, he easily recognized the man. Professor Wang? Of course, I remember you. This raft was crafted by the Alliance. Haha. The elder laughed heartily before continuing in a gentle tone. Su Lang, Captain Chen's words may be rather direct, yet he harbors no ill intent. His sole desire is to safeguard more lives. Hence his anxiety regarding heavy weaponry falling into the wrong hands. I understand, Su Lang nodded, harboring a deep respect for individuals like Professor Wang and Shin Jia, who held the greater good of the nation and its people in their hearts. However, while he could empathize, surrendering the rocket launcher was out of the question. I shall not relinquish my weapon, he stated firmly before swiftly changing the subject. Shall we discuss something else? Professor, Captain Chun, first, take a look at this. Seemingly nonchalant, Su Lang reached into the tactical pocket of his bulletproof vest, retrieving the small box from his spatial storage. He opened the lid to reveal a square crystal, shimmering with an ethereal glow. What is this? Chen Jia's gaze was instantly captivated by the hue of blue, his breath quickening. Despite his effort to conceal his intrigue, it did not escape Su Lang's notice. It seems you are familiar with it, Su Lang remarked with a smile, closing the lid and stowing the box away. Chen Jia regained his composure, fixing his eyes on Su Lang with urgency. Where did you acquire this? Su Lang refrained from answering, knowing he could not reveal its origin was linked to bloodshed. After contemplating, he countered with a question, what purpose does it serve? Why is the military collecting it? Shin Jia fell silent. In a fleeting moment, a horrifying thought crossed his mind, to seize the crystal. However, that notion was swiftly extinguished. The other party wielded a rocket launcher, a significant risk. Although he had awakened his powers, he remained aware of his mortal limitations. Most importantly, to forcibly take it would violate his principles. This crystal was first discovered within the brains of mutated sea monsters. Chen Jia cleared his throat and began slowly. According to preliminary military research, it contains a peculiar and potent energy, likely linked to the origins of this catastrophe and the emergence of those mutated creatures. The military collects it to consolidate resources for research, seeking methods to combat the disaster. Su Lang furrowed his brow. The explanation sounded enticing, yet was too vague. The other party clearly withholding information. After a moment of reflection, he said, Captain Chun, I believe the military must have uncovered some findings by now, yes? Pausing, he added, I seek more valuable information, which I can exchange for supplies. Upon hearing this, Chen Jia's eyes lit up. Indeed, there is a piece of information regarding the use of this crystal. A subtle smile graced his lips as he shifted his tone. If you entrust me with the single-person rocket launcher for safekeeping, I shall divulge all that I know. What do you say? Very well, I shall await your response. Su Lang replied. He had not anticipated the man with expressive brows and large eyes would speak in such circumlocutory terms. Surrendering the weapon was out of the question. Su Lang slowly shook his head. If you wish to share information, I can offer fresh water, gasoline, or tea leaves in exchange. Chen Jia fell silent, and the surroundings once again fell into quietude. The two locked gazes, one seeking a weapon, the other information. Each held something the other desired. Yet neither was willing to yield first. The conversation fell into an impasse. In this apocalyptic world, Having an ally is far better than gaining another adversary. I have a proposal. Professor Wang's aged yet gentle voice resonated once more. Noticing the two men's silence, the elder continued. We shall no longer require you to surrender the rocket launcher, and we agree to your terms of exchanging supplies for information regarding the crystal. As a concession in exchange, I hope you can offer a promise that you will not proactively employ heavy weaponry against other survivors, particularly in the absence of hostility from them. Certainly, Su Lang nodded, for he was never one to seek trouble. The elder's words were reasonable, providing Su Lang with a way out while achieving his own objective. It was indeed the most feasible solution at present. Chen Jia also nodded, solemnly stating, I hope you will honor your promise. Although he harbored lingering concerns regarding the rocket launcher, the teacher had spoken, satisfying part of his demands by ensuring that heavy weaponry would not be misused. And he chose not to press the matter further. Instantly, the atmosphere between the two parties softened significantly. A barrel of gasoline. Chen Jia spoke first. The large vessel then gradually turned, drawing closer to the wooden raft. Without hesitation, Su Lang moved to the rear of the raft, retrieving a barrel and placing it aside. The energy crystal, as yet unnamed, had already confirmed one use. Awakened individuals could absorb the crystal's energy to enhance their own strength. Chen Jia stated calmly, awakened individuals? Su Lang blurted out, images of Lu Yaohua manipulating weapons from a distance flooding his mind. Indeed, Chen Jia replied, a satisfied smile gracing his lips at Su Lang's surprised reaction. He continued, during our battles with the sea monsters, several extraordinary individuals emerged within the military. They have awakened to powers that defy scientific explanation. Of course, the reasons behind this remain a mystery. The initial abilities of the awakened were not particularly strong. They could amplify their powers by absorbing the energy from the crystals, akin to cultivating martial arts. This information was not a secret. Many among the large group fleeing behind the vessel were already aware, so he chose to share it freely. Chapter 57. Initial refinement. Once he finished speaking, Chen Jia stood silently at the edge of the ship. Thank you, Su Lang said softly. The information provided was mere trivia for others, yet it held great value for him. No need for thanks, Chen Jia replied from his elevated position. The crystal holds little use for ordinary individuals. I suggest you exchange it for essential supplies. I might possess extraordinary abilities, but I am eager to grow stronger. He had initially intended to ask Su Lang if he would part with the crystal, but his words were interrupted by Su Lang's firm refusal. No exchange. Su Lang waved his hand, struggling not to glance at the barrel on the table. In just 6 days, the seeds provided by the system would bear fruit. At that time, he would become an awakened. The crystal was certainly to be kept for his own use. Chen Jia sighed, relinquishing his plan, and tossed a thick rope toward the raft. Su Lang understood and grasped it tightly, securing it to the barrel. Chen Jia, standing high at the edge of the ship, effortlessly pulled the barrel onto the deck. In that moment, Professor Wang interjected, Su Lang, in the future, we can share information and exchange supplies whenever the opportunity arises. Su Lang replied sincerely, all right. The elder had twice offered assistance to him, and his fondness for the elder continued to grow. With that thought, he took out a bag of tea leaves and tossed them onto the deck of the large ship. Please enjoy some tea, Professor. The raft gradually accelerated, sailing toward the horizon. Su Lang turned to look back, noticing the large ship receding further away, seemingly stationary, as if waiting for something. He chose to ignore it and made his way directly to the dining table, gazing at the water barrel. The once dark golden seed had vanished, replaced by a tender gray sprout submerged in water. In merely a day, it had grown to approximately 3 centimeters, such rapid growth. Yet, with the realization that it would take another 6 days to bear fruit, he felt the wait was excruciating. He lit a cigarette and took a deep drag, allowing his excitement to settle. Turning around, he discovered Tang Yao and Zhao Yuman had gathered at the table, observing. Stop looking, he chuckled. You two take turns steering the raft. I'll go collect some trash. He needed to engage in some work to divert his attention, otherwise, he would be preoccupied with thoughts of awakening. Zhao Yuman nodded and turned to leave. Su Lang, Tang Yao asked softly, may I continue practicing with the gun? Su Lang pondered for a moment and replied, go ahead, we have plenty of ammunition. He had previously worried about this and that, but now he felt liberated. Enhancing one's strength was paramount. After speaking, he retrieved 500 rounds of ammunition from his space and laid them on the table. Tang Yao began to practice with the gun, and sporadic gunfire resonated across the raft. Su Lang then approached the front of the raft to collect debris. Aside from the midday meal, the gunfire had not ceased. The diligent efforts of the two women inspired Su Lang, and he tirelessly continued to earn points. As night fell, the outdoor lights illuminated the raft. The three of them sat quietly around the table, enjoying dinner. The warm yellow light enveloped the raft in a cozy atmosphere amidst the vast ocean. Su Lang set down his chopsticks, lit a cigarette, and took a satisfying puff. Just then, Tang Yao finished her meal and rose to grab the gun. Wait a moment. Su Lang glanced at the countdown on the illusory panel. 00035. The raft is about to upgrade. Upon hearing this, the two women obediently took their seats. Their curiosity piqued as they began to survey their surroundings. 0002000 00500 001. With a creaking sound that grated on the teeth, the raft began to rise. Su Lang distinctly felt the chair beneath him, the table in front, and even the entire raft gently ascending, as if riding in an elevator. Ah! Zhao Yuman gasped, clutching Su Lang's arm tightly. Su Lang grinned. From this day forward, our raft has transformed into a ship. No sooner had he spoken than the vessel shuddered slightly, as if the hull had just submerged in water. Upgrade complete. The shape resembled those sightseeing boats found in parks. Tang Yao exclaimed with excitement. It's a recreational boat, but it's several times larger. Su Lang nodded with a smile. Indeed. The metal hull measured 6 meters in length and 3 meters in width, rising approximately 2 meters above the water's surface. The flat wooden deck spanned just over 20 square meters. The canopy above had been remodeled into a 4-corner pavilion, supported by 4 large columns on the deck, with drapes fluttering in the breeze. A bedroom and a bathroom were separated by wooden boards, with a dining table and a large oven for cooking situated toward the rear, alongside the steering position. Zhao Yuman leaned against the railing, gazing outward, noting how the raft had risen in height. Wait, it can't be called a raft anymore. This ship is so tall. The view has improved. Wow. Has the floor changed as well? Tang Yao exclaimed, lightly bouncing in excitement. Su Lang reveled in their cheers, feeling a profound sense of satisfaction. Zhao Yuman, while exploring, remarked in awe, the wooden planks look brand new. This bedroom is so cozy. It even has a small window. It truly is beautiful, sister man. Enjoy it tonight. Tang Yao said earnestly as she moved closer. Zhao Yuman turned back with wide eyes, incredulous. Yao Yao, are you teasing me? She reached out playfully toward Tang Yao's rear. Yet, a broad, warm hand grasped her wrist firmly. What? Was the big bed from a few days ago not cozy enough? The man's breath brushed against her ear, making Zhao Yuman feel weak at the knees. You are just here for your own comfort, Tang Yao's sweet voice chimed in. Su Lang turned to see a dramatic eye roll directed at him, and he cleared his throat, loosening his grip. Zhao Yuman seized the opportunity, steadying herself against the edge of the bed. Su Lang clapped his hands and feigned seriousness as he addressed the two of them. Now, I officially inquire about the next renovation and upgrade plan for the hull. His gaze shifted to Tang Yao. You go first, Tang Yao. Tang Yao suppressed her playful demeanor and replied earnestly. Report. I hope that the next upgrade will include a laundry area. Seeing the whimsical expressions on their faces, Zhao Yuman couldn't help but giggle, her eyes sparkling with laughter, the springtime glow on her face already fading. Yet, Su Lang and Tang Yao remained steadfastly serious. Gazing at her with solemnity, she obediently stifled her laughter and nervously added, Report. I hope the next renovation will feature a comfortable stove for cooking. Excellent. Su Lang exclaimed. I will certainly take your suggestions into serious consideration. He clapped his hands, signaling the end of the meeting. Ha ha ha. The two women erupted into delightful laughter, their voices ringing sweetly in the air. Unable to contain himself, Su Lang joined in, laughing heartily. Ha! As he approached the bow of the ship, Su Lang pulled out a cigarette and lit it. He flipped his right hand, extracting a chunk of the primordial mineral from the space. The stone was about the size of a basketball, irregular in shape, and bore a dull lead gray hue. At first glance, it reflected no light, appearing almost non-metallic. System. What was the crafting plan you mentioned last time? Chapter 58, Special Abilities System. What was the synthesis plan you suggested previously? Immediately, a familiar electronic synthesis tone echoed in his mind, detected fluctuations of the primordial force within the space. By incorporating this material into the ore, it can undergo renovation and upgrades. Which item possesses the primordial force? The system offered no response but proceeded with its operations. Su Lang's gaze fell upon a small box that was highlighted. He was taken aback. Isn't this a crystal? A crystal that enhances extraordinary power upon absorption. Could a crystal also be utilized to forge weapons? He swallowed hard. Such an application was likely unknown even to Qinjia. Thus, the energy within the crystal was referred to as primordial force by the system. Regaining his composure, Su Lang continued to inquire. What can be crafted by combining these two items? Based on the mold style or the host's imagination, it can be fashioned into any weapon or tool. Suddenly, a virtual panel unfolded, and the projection of the ore began to twist and reshape, manifesting into a knife, a sword, and a spear. The images transformed rapidly and bizarrely into the shapes of a soccer ball, a frying pan, and even a banana. What is special about items crafted from the primordial ore? He suppressed the rapid beating of his heart. Weapons or tools crafted from primordial ore, in addition to being indestructible, will randomly acquire special abilities. By infusing primordial force into the primordial ore, the item will gain the unique ability to carry, transmit, and amplify the primordial force released upon it. At this point, Su Lang felt a shiver run down his spine, the hairs on his arms standing on end. The system's explanation, combined with Chun Jia's words, suggested that the energy within the crystal was indeed primordial force, and absorbing it could enhance the extraordinary powers of the awakened. Therefore, the so-called extraordinary power is essentially the release of primordial force. Although he did not fully comprehend it, one thing was certain: if this weapon were forged, it would undoubtedly empower the awakened. Forge it. Su Lang could hardly contain his eagerness. Please provide a mold or imagine to create the renovation and upgrade plan. What type of weapon to forge? Su Lang hesitated. Should he opt for close combat or ranged? Perhaps a sniper rifle for stealthy shooting? He dismissed the thought after merely a second of imagination. That style did not appeal to him. So close combat it is. Knives, spears, swords? Instinctively, he flipped his right hand, and a Tang Dao appeared in his grasp. Although he was not proficient with various weapons, he decided to choose the one he was most familiar with. The projection within the panel shifted, rapidly taking form. This plan consumes primordial or primordial crystal, Tang Dao, and 30,000 scavenger points. Time required, 48 hours. Confirm? Confirm. Countdown, 47, 59, 59. With a deep breath, Su Lang exhaled a long puff of smoke, gradually calming his restless heart. 2 days was not too long. He was eager to see what the forged knife would be like and what abilities it would possess. However, the next moment, Su Lang's expression grew grim. Scavenger points, 953. A single weapon had drained all his points. To be honest, he hadn't seen such a low number in a long time. Normally, he would be frugal even when drawing lots, aiming to save up for future opportunities. This setback felt like a return to square one. In the coming days, he would have to work hard collecting garbage again. Otherwise, he wouldn't have any points for the next renovation. Flicking his fingers, he let the cigarette butt, glowing with embers, fall into the dark water. He walked towards the stern, where the two women were huddled together, whispering, "We won't start the motor tonight. Visibility is poor, and we aren't in a hurry." He called softly. "Okay," Tang Yao replied, promptly turning off the motor. "I'll keep watch." Su Lang nodded. "As usual, wake me in the second half of the night." With that, he headed towards the restroom. Watching the man's retreating figure, Tang Yao's lips curled into a slight smile as she gently nudged Zhao Yuman. "Aren't you going yet?" She even gestured towards the restroom with her chin. Zhao Yuman's radiant face instantly flushed with crimson, playfully chiding Tang Yao as they bantered. Moments later, the two women parted ways. Zhao Yuman tidied her disheveled hair and rose to head toward the bedroom. At that moment, Su Lang happened to push the door open and pulled her into his embrace. Each woman possessed her own charm, but when it came to indulgence, Zhao Yuman undoubtedly excelled. Why? Because she could do anything in every position. After breakfast, Su Lang seized the opportunity to collect garbage. After half an hour, feeling that his efficiency was lacking, he made a swift decision: run diagonally with the current. He explained to the two women that today they would run diagonally to the right with the current and tomorrow to the left. Thus, he tirelessly collected garbage at the bow, while Tang Yao and Zhao Yuman handled the boat and prepared meals, practicing shooting whenever they had a spare moment. The somewhat monotonous 2 days soon passed. At night, Su Lang leaned back in a chair, smoking, while the two women prepared ingredients nearby. They decided on hot pot for dinner, a choice made by Su Lang. With the weapon about to be completed, he felt in high spirits. After 2 days of relentless garbage collection, he felt somewhat nauseated, but the results were exceedingly gratifying. Scavenger points, 61, 546, a total of 60,000. Just the sight of it brought him a sense of security. He opened the renovation panel, countdown, 00015, throwing away the cigarette, but he awaited silently. Ding. Renovation complete. Su Lang's spirit lifted, and he quickly cast his gaze towards the item, where a knife-shaped weapon had appeared. The blade resembled the original Tang Dao, with a straight, jet-black back that glimmered with a cold metallic sheen, while the blade itself was the opposite, not the commonly seen bright silver, but a dull silver. Even slightly gray, as if it were not very sharp. Tang Dao, crafted from primordial ore and primordial crystal, it is indestructible. Special ability, Space Leap. When wielding the sword, It can consume primordial force to break through spatial constraints, achieving a short-distance teleportation. Side effects. After each spatial leap, one must endure the repulsion of spatial rules, resulting in a brief sensation of stagnation for the user. With consecutive uses, the backlash accumulates. Spatial leap? Teleportation? Su Lang was momentarily taken aback. If it truly involved vanishing from one spot and reappearing in another, it would indeed be formidable. As an offensive maneuver, it could catch the enemy completely off guard. Should one encounter an insurmountable foe, it could also serve as an escape, akin to a blink. How could one pursue? He raised his right hand, fingers curling as the tang knife materialized from thin air. The blade felt considerably heavier than before, yet it did not compromise the grip. Su Lang attempted to swing it, but nothing occurred. How embarrassing. Without the power of the abyss, he could not activate the knife's special abilities. At that moment, it was merely an indestructible tang knife in his grasp. This thought led his gaze to the large bucket on the table. The tender sprouts had grown to 10 centimeters. Their ribbon-like leaves unfurling like a curly sea urchin floating in water. It seemed they would not bear fruit for another 4 days. Chapter 59. Renovating the kitchen. The inky darkness enveloped the night. The torrential rain served as the world's backdrop, its sound no longer cacophonous, but rather accentuating a profound tranquility. Su Lang picked up a perfectly cooked piece of beef, gently rolling it in the oiled dish before savoring its flavors. Delicious. It had been a long time since he had indulged in hot pot, especially while floating on water. Both the taste and the ambience could only be described with one word: blissful. The food was exquisite. Tang Yao's cheeks flushed, her lips glistening from the spiciness, resembling a layer of rouge. Su Lang, why didn't you bring out the hot pot base earlier? She queried. Su Lang was momentarily caught off guard. I forgot. Indeed. He had forgotten. He had drawn the hot pot base long ago, but at that time, the fresh ingredients were scarce, so he had not taken the initiative to enjoy it. No worries, Tang Yao said, tossing another piece into her mouth, mumbling. Being able to eat hot pot is truly a blessing. Seeing her satisfied and adorable demeanor, Su Lang couldn't help but smile. Zhao Yumin let out a long breath. Fanning herself with her left hand, Su Lang inquired, is it spicy? A little, Zhao Yumin replied, beads of sweat forming on her forehead. Perhaps I'm just not accustomed to it after so long. Su Lang chuckled and retrieved a few cans of cola and beer from his space. There's cola. Zhao Yumin's eyes widened in astonishment. This makes it perfect. Tang Yao quickly snatched a bottle of cola, tilting her head back to gulp down a large mouthful. Oh, what a pity, it's not cold. Hearing this, Su Lang smiled knowingly. Don't worry, you'll soon be able to enjoy it chilled. Really? Of course. I have a refrigerator in my space. Once we expand the ship and connect it to power, it will be usable. Upon hearing this, Tang Yao cheered, leaping towards him, her rosy lips landing like raindrops on his face. Will we be able to drink it cold in the future? Sensing Su Lang's large hand brushing against her, Tang Yao's body softened, and she hurriedly jumped back. I'm not full yet. Laughing heartily, Su Lang ceased to tease her and opened a can of beer. After satisfying their appetites, he moved to the bow of the ship to light a cigarette, casually bringing up the renovation panel. The ethereal projection of the small boat appeared before him. He envisioned widening the ship by 3 meters and lengthening it by 6 meters, resulting in a vessel 4 times the original size, with a deck area exceeding 70 square meters. Upon glancing, he saw it would require over 70,000 points. That exceeded his balance. Then he decided to widen it by 1 meter and lengthen it by 2 meters, taking it step by step. This would consume just over 20,000 points. Next came the modification of the propeller. As the ship grew larger, maneuvering solely with the rear thruster became somewhat cumbersome. He envisioned separating the propeller from the rudder, and the system quickly provided a reasonable plan. The original propeller was duplicated and upgraded, with 2 larger propellers affixed to either side of the ship's stern, while the rudder was relocated to the front for easier observation during navigation. This modification would also consume over 20,000 points. Subsequently, he designed a kitchen at the stern, featuring a spacious countertop and 2 coal-burning stoves. He also planned to channel rainwater from the large bucket above into the kitchen for easy dishwashing, consuming 6,000 points. After checking, he realized he hadn't addressed the wiring. He attempted to communicate with the system, laying out several wires and sockets starting from the generator at the rear, costing 6,000 points. This plan will consume 300 points and take 58 hours. Confirm? Confirmed. Countdown, 57, 59, 59. Gazing at the remaining 3,000 points, Su Lang felt a pang of anxiety. Was it time to shift his strategy? Relying solely on manual scavenging for points was not sustainable. Perhaps he should design an automatic scavenging device next? Just then, Su Lang, there's a boat behind us. A clear voice suddenly called from behind. He quickly gathered his thoughts and hurried towards the stern. Grabbing the binoculars, he peered out while reminding, make sure to put on your gear if a conflict arises. Don't hold back. On the dark water's surface, a small boat sped towards them, its bow equipped with a dim searchlight scanning left and right. Su Lang had turned off the motor before dinner, and now, the distance between them was rapidly closing. He readied his sniper rifle, aligning it through the optical scope. The small boat that had been approaching directly suddenly veered to the left, as if it had detected Su Lang's vessel. Moments later, the small boat glided past them on the water's surface, maintaining a distance of over 100 meters. However, Su Lang remained highly vigilant throughout. As the small boat gradually distanced itself, the tense atmosphere began to ease. It's all right. Su Lang casually stowed the sniper rifle back into his space. You all should rest now. Zhao Yuman winked at Tang Yao. I'll keep watch tonight. Su Lang ignored them and headed straight for the shower. The night passed without incident, save for the sounds of rain. The following morning, Su Lang finished breakfast and resumed scavenging. With his remaining points insufficient for even a single tenfold draw, he felt a sense of urgency. 2 days passed as he engaged in this task. Scavenging points, 67. 517. Over these 2 days, they had encountered 3 small boats. Perhaps due to the slow speed of Su Lang's vessel, after all, he had not traveled at night and had been zigzagging during the day. Yet, each of the small boats they encountered seemed solely focused on their own journey, steering clear of Su Lang's ship without exception. Although nothing untoward occurred, Su Lang felt an undercurrent of impending turmoil. What had transpired with the fleeing masses behind? Su Lang lit a cigarette, standing at the bow, the night breeze brushing past him and dispersing his thoughts. He opened the renovation panel. Countdown 0:01:28. Su Lang walked towards the stern, clapped his hands, and Tang Yao and Zhao Yuman immediately directed their gazes towards him. Just 1 minute left. The kitchen you've been wishing for is about to appear. Really? Zhao Yuman exclaimed, grabbing his arm, her eyes brimming with anticipation. Tang Yao's reaction was even more dramatic. She jumped up and punched the air, yay. In their minds, the instantaneous transformation of the raft felt almost like a miracle. Despite having witnessed 2 renovations before, it still captivated their curiosity, their wide eyes exploring everywhere in awe. The sound of creaking and the splash of a heavy object entering the water resonated simultaneously. Transformation complete, exclaimed Tang Yao in astonishment, turning her head to Zhao Yuman. Did you see that? No, Zhao Yuman replied, her beautiful eyes wide open, murmuring, I was staring at the big oven without blinking, and it just changed. Su Lang chuckled, interrupting, stop marveling and take a look at the kitchen. If there are any issues, I can modify it next time. Right. Zhao Yuman nodded vigorously, her eyes sparkling as she surveyed the new stove. This one is so much better than the previous big oven. Tang Yao hurried over, reaching out to touch the surface. This countertop is impressive too. It's brand new solid wood, and it's polished so smoothly. Chapter 60, Failed Awakening? On board the ship, the 2 women chattered incessantly, joyfully exchanging remarks like 2 playful huskies. Zhao Yuman, caressing the countertop, sighed. This once ordinary sink almost brought me to tears. Indeed, Tang Yao agreed. No more squatting on the ground with a basin to wash every day. My back was about to break. Where's your back broken? Let me feel, Su Lang teased, leaning closer. After the call to cease for the night, he helplessly noticed both women had dozed off. Lighting a post-event cigarette, he settled at the ship's helm to keep watch. As he puffed, he opened the lottery panel. Level 4 prize pool consuming 1,000 points. Confirm? Let's give it a try, he decided. 110 outdoor high-energy carbon boxes. Another one. 110 grenades. Draw again. The night is still young. 1 an electric water heater. Not bad. Continue. 100 barrels of purified water. Su Lang continued drawing 15 times, exhausting a total of 20,000 points. Apart from acquiring a plethora of basic supplies, he only secured an electric hoist, a device for lifting and lowering. He had hoped for Mingsa seeds or Xianin ore, but it seemed luck was not on his side. With the lottery concluded, he settled in for the night watch. By morning, both women awakened simultaneously. After breakfast, he collapsed onto the large bed, drifting into a deep slumber. Tang Yao even canceled her daily gun practice for fear of disturbing him. He slept soundly, only to awaken to the darkness of night. Have I really slept for so long? Su Lang rubbed his eyes, gazing at the pitch-black sky. After spending another night vigilantly watching, had he not added attribute points, he might have succumbed to exhaustion. Hearing footsteps, Tang Yao approached gently, since there's nothing to do. I wanted you to rest a bit longer. Did you encounter any ships today? No, he replied, not probing further as he headed towards the dining table. Yet, The moment his gaze landed on the table, he froze in astonishment. Before him, the entire water bucket was a soft blue hue. The tiny plants that had barely filled his palm 2 days prior now completely occupied the bucket. His heart raced. Could they be fruiting? He distinctly remembered that the 7-day fruiting period was set for this very evening. With wide eyes, he scrutinized the water, which was dense with blue, ribbon-like leaves. Yet he saw nothing resembling fruit. You must be starving after sleeping all day, Zhao Yumin said, approaching with 2 plates of food. It's fine, he replied, still fixated on the bucket. Tang Yao followed closely behind, and soon they had arranged the dishes. Su Lang, you need to take care of yourself. Don't push yourself so hard next time, Tang Yao said earnestly. Despite the rosy blush on her lovely face, her gaze met his unwaveringly. Feeling her concern, warmth surged within Su Lang, assuring her, don't worry. Zhao Yumin cleared her throat, let us eat, successfully redirecting the mood, as Tang Yao took a small bite of rice. She suddenly remembered something. Su Lang, did you forget about my suggestion for laundry? Before he could respond, she quickly added, it's all right if you forgot. We can always modify it next time. How could I forget? Su Lang smiled, pointing to the corner. Did you see those wires? Tang Yao nodded, perplexed. You brought a washing machine into space. Not just a washing machine, but also a refrigerator. Really? Ha. Zhao Yumin interjected, glancing between them. Su Lang, you have no idea how fast the ship is now. Su Lang was momentarily taken aback. He hadn't deactivated it since the modifications last night, so he had no knowledge. However, I can guess it's quite swift, given that we installed 2 propellers. I feel it's faster than any ship we've seen before, Zhao Yumin asserted confidently. That's good, Su Lang nodded. With speed on their side, they would be better prepared in case of emergencies, whether pursuing or fleeing. After dinner, Su Lang retrieved the refrigerator from his space, placing it beside the dining table to connect it to the power supply. He then installed the electric water heater in the bathroom and the washing machine outside. Seeing Tang Yao and Zhao Yumin busily arranging the refrigerator, he returned to the table and lit a cigarette. At that moment, the Mingsaw in the bucket began to change. The previously sprawling leaves appeared to shrink, the Mingsaw seeming to diminish in size. Su Lang curiously examined it. With his keen eyesight, he observed the leaves visibly shortening. Holding his breath, he focused intently, sensing that something awaited emergence. After several breaths, the leaves had shortened to the length of his palm. The central body about the size of a jujube, resembling an inflated blue dandelion. The ribbon-like leaves continued to retract, while the central mass grew larger. Within the span of a single cigarette, Su Lang was spellbound by the scene inside the bucket. All the ribbon-like leaves had vanished, not disappeared, but retracted into the central body. A fruit the size of an apple floated serenely in the water. Could this be the fruit? Su Lang murmured to himself, marveling at the wonders of creation. Patiently waiting for another 10 minutes, and confirming there were no further changes, he reached in to retrieve the fruit. Is this the fruit of the Mingsaw? Ming fruit. The fruit that grows from Mingsaw seeds over 7 days. Consuming it may genetically mutate the eater, awakening extraordinary powers. His heart finally settled. He scrutinized the Ming fruit in his hand. The fruit was a pale blue, its surface faintly adorned with dark patterns, yet upon closer inspection, nothing was discernible. Though internally he shouted 100 times for it to be devoured, he still cautiously inquired, what is the probability of awakening? 99 probability of awakening, without hesitation. He opened his mouth wide and took a large bite of the Ming fruit. With a probability of 99, he had no reason to doubt its authenticity. Unlike certain game developers, upon awakening, one randomly gains extraordinary powers. Failure results in genetic collapse, transforming the body into a monstrous being or mental insanity. Chewing and swallowing. He took another sizable bite. It's not very sweet. The texture is mediocre, and it's lacking in moisture. Upon successful awakening, the eater receives the curse of Xianin. They can never leave the water. If they exceed 3 days away from water, they will perish from dehydration. Su Lang had just finished devouring the Ming fruit when he was struck dumb by the notification. Cannot leave the water area? For life? This meant he could never set foot on land again in this lifetime. Even if he found a place like Peach Mountain, he couldn't reside on the mountain. Before he could fully comprehend this alarming revelation, a wave of excruciating pain surged through his entire body. His limbs twitched uncontrollably, and despite wanting to scream, no sound escaped his lips. His whole body had gone rigid and numb. Even his fingers were immobile, just as his heart convulsed, and his vision faded to black. An absurd thought flickered through his mind. Did I fail? Am I that 1%? Chapter 61, Lightning on the Ship. Sister man, has Su Lang woken up yet? Not yet. Is there something happening outside? Don't worry, there isn't a single shadow of a boat in sight. You stay with him while I keep watch outside. All right. But why did he suddenly fall like this? Tang Yao, What if he... Stop, Sister Man, don't think too wildly. I believe in him. He will be fine. Su Lang, in a daze, heard voices as if they were underwater, indistinct and muffled. Was he dreaming again? Where was he? He strained to open his eyelids and was greeted by the sight of a wooden pavilion roof with bright light surrounding him. Gradually regaining his senses, he realized he was lying on a large bed. Su Lang, you're awake? A beautiful face leaned in, her enchanting eyes scrutinizing him, before she turned and shouted, Tang Yao. Come quickly. Su Lang is awake. Footsteps hurriedly approached, and another radiant face entered his line of sight. Tang Yao furrowed her brow, carefully inspecting him. How do you feel? Is there anywhere you are uncomfortable? Su Lang managed a weak smile. I don't feel unwell. I'm just very hungry. I'll get you something to eat. Zhao Yuman immediately chimed in. I was already worried you might be hungry. We've prepared plenty. With that, she rushed towards the kitchen. It's good that you're fine. Sister Man was almost scared to death when you suddenly fainted, Tang Yao said, gently caressing his cheek with her slender fingers. Though she was just as worried. She suppressed her fears and comforted Zhao Yuman while remaining vigilant of any disturbances on the water's surface. Touching his warm face, her anxious heart gradually found solace. Sorry to worry you. Su Lang grasped Tang Yao's delicate hand. He rose to the dining table, where Zhao Yuman had already served porridge and was bringing over various side dishes. Su Lang slowly finished a bowl of porridge, feeling his strength return. I'll get you another bowl, Zhao Yuman said, picking up the bowl and heading to the kitchen. Su Lang, did you eat the plants in the water bucket? Tang Yao's voice rang beside him. Su Lang remained silent. As his spirit revived, his mind began to function again, and the memory of consuming the fruit resurfaced. No, he hadn't failed. The system had clearly stated that failure would lead to genetic collapse, transforming him into a monstrous being or driving him insane. Yet he had experienced none of that. He silently invoked the system, and an illusory panel unfolded before him. Attributes, 160. Ability, accelerated recovery. Ability, accelerated swimming. Ability, underwater breathing. Points, 47,517. Awakening. Lightning, level 1 lightning. Su Lang was momentarily stunned, regardless of the level. Had he truly awakened successfully? He trembled as he raised his right hand, pinching his index finger and thumb together. In Tang Yao's eyes, Su Lang suddenly formed a heart shape with his fingers. Su Lang, what are you doing? She asked, her expression bewildered. What time is it? And you're still in the mood for jokes? Wait a moment. Su Lang interrupted her question. He focused his mind, and the two fingers forming the heart slowly spread apart. With a crackling sound, a dazzling arc of electricity appeared at his fingertips. The current, as thick as a finger, danced like a lively silver snake, flickering and leaping. Tang Yao's eyes widened in astonishment, her mouth agape in disbelief at the wondrous sight. Su Lang, mesmerized by the electric spark at his fingertips, was equally taken aback. The hair on his arm stood on end as a wave of exhilaration surged from his soul, quickly overwhelmed by immense joy. Ha! He couldn't contain a series of hearty laughs. Just before losing consciousness, he had almost thought he was done for, but here he was, having awakened successfully. Moreover, the extraordinary power he had awakened was the incredibly cool ability of lightning. Any lingering trepidation vanished, replaced by an overwhelming excitement. Su Lang, what is going on? Tang Yao quickly asked, snapping back to reality. Zhao Yuman, hearing the laughter, hurried over. What happened? What's wrong? With a flicker of thought, the electric arc at his fingertips vanished in an instant. Facing the curious gazes of the two women, Su Lang cleared his throat and slowly said, Do you remember when Lu Yaohua controlled his weapon? Seeing them nod, he continued, That was the extraordinary power awakened from genetic mutation, and I. He paused for effect, raising his finger before their eyes, have also awakened successfully. This is my extraordinary power, lightning. As soon as he finished speaking, a crackling sound erupted. A silver arc of electricity leapt from Su Lang's fingertip. Ah! Zhao Yuman gasped, instinctively recoiling. Tang Yao, having anticipated this, remained steadfast. Her gaze fixed intently on the flickering electricity, swallowing hard. Is this what Chun Jie mentioned about awakening? It looks amazing. Hee. Su Lang chuckled proudly, striding towards the bow of the ship. But for now, I need to thoroughly study how to wield this power. Sitting at the ship's bow, Su Lang lit a cigarette, gradually calming his restless heart. Just then, he clenched his fist, distinctly feeling his physical abilities had significantly improved. He immediately opened the system panel. Attributes, 160. He distinctly remembered that after leveling up to the 4th tier, his attributes were at 110. System, what is with the additional 50 points? Host has successfully awakened. Attribute points increased by 50. A system reward? Or is this how it is for all awakeners? Not a system reward. Anyone who successfully awakens will have their physical attributes increased by 50 points. Got it. He stood up, stretched, and moved his legs. Feeling the immense power coursing within him, an inexplicable urge to run, leap, and unleash his full potential surged within him. How fast, how high, and how strong could he be if he unleashed his strength with his current physique? Suppressing his eager thoughts, Su Lang began to contemplate how to use lightning. He positioned his fingers like a sword, concentrating on envisioning the lightning shooting forth. With a sudden thrust of his finger, however, the current only extended about a hand's length before dissipating. Frustrated, he tried again, repeating the motion over a dozen times, each time yielding the same result. Suddenly, a wave of dizziness washed over him. It seemed the Ming power within him had been depleted, prompting him to cease his experiments and sit down to recover slowly. A faint sense of disappointment lingered in his heart. Was the longed-for long-range lightning attack unattainable? Is it due to the first stage? The newly awakened extraordinary power seems too feeble. It appears that only after advancing to a higher tier can one contemplate ranged attacks. Chapter 62. Run fast. Gazing at the vast, turbulent waters, Su Lang leisurely exhaled a plume of smoke. He felt a surge of energy, and the enigmatic force within him was fully restored. He pondered privately whether the ability to accelerate recovery would affect the restoration of this mysterious power. However, such thoughts could only be validated upon encountering other awakened individuals. He clenched his fist and raised it before him, concentrating to attempt enveloping it with lightning. Zzz! A dazzling spark erupted from the tip of his fist, rapidly spreading over his entire hand. Yet, just as it covered more than half, it dissipated. Observing this scene, Su Lang couldn't help but smirk. Surprisingly weak. This time, he did not dismiss the evidence and ceased his efforts. After a long moment of contemplation, a sudden inspiration struck him, and he retrieved the newly crafted Tang Dao from the spatial realm. Grasping the sword a second time, the sensation was entirely different. At this moment, the Tang Dao felt like an extension of his arm, and he could almost hear a faint, joyous vibration emanating from the blade. This is likely the distinction between an awakened individual and an ordinary person. With a flash of insight, he understood how to utilize the Tang Dao for spatial leaps. By infusing it with his mysterious power, he could execute the move with a mere thought. Eagerly, he surveyed his surroundings, ready to experiment. The boat measured 8 meters in length and 4 in width, with a bedroom and bathroom partitioning the interior, leaving no clear path for movement. Only the bow remained unobstructed, its width perfectly suited for a trial. Su Lang stepped towards the left edge of the boat, casting his gaze across to the opposite side. As he focused, he distinctly felt the frantic depletion of his mysterious power. With a gentle wave of his right hand, which gripped the Tang Dao, he was astounded to find himself standing at the right edge of the boat. Just as he intended to turn around, an overwhelming pressure from the spatial realm surged forth. It felt as if torrents of water were constricting his body from all sides, causing even a simple motion to momentarily falter. Instinctively, he tensed his muscles, exerting all his strength to break free, yet he was utterly powerless. In a flash, the oppressive sensation vanished. Though it may sound complex, it all transpired in the blink of an eye, approximately half a second, if one were to estimate. Exhaling deeply, Su Lang slowly turned around. How formidable! Any strike within the distance of a spatial leap would surpass the speed of a bullet. Yet, the consumption was considerable. A single spatial leap nearly exhausted a third of his mysterious power. Unfortunately, with only 4 meters at the bow, he could not determine the maximum distance of his instantaneous movement. Taking a deep breath, Su Lang tightened his grip on the Tang Dao, attempting to concentrate the electrical current at the blade's tip. Zzz! A flicker of electricity instantly appeared at the sword's point. It was effortlessly achieved, akin to an extension of his own fingers. He then endeavored to reverse the flow of electricity, enveloping the blade. This time, the silver electric net was considerably more pronounced, covering approximately 15 centimeters of the blade, yielding a far superior effect than when enveloping his fist. Nodding to himself, he realized this demonstrated the effects of carrying, conducting, and amplifying energy. Lighting a cigarette, he awaited the restoration of his mysterious power. Subsequently, he began to repeatedly practice spatial leaps at the bow of the boat. He only paused when Zhao Yuman came over to call him for a meal. After several hours of practice, Su Lang had gained a fundamental mastery over the control of his mysterious power, allowing him to summon and retract lightning at his fingertips with ease. Tang Yao handed him chopsticks, inquiring, "Su Lang, do we need to start the engine today?" Su Lang, simultaneously shoveling rice into his mouth while mentally simulating the movement of lightning, was momentarily taken aback by the question. Zhao Yuman explained, "You were still asleep at dawn, so we decided to keep the propeller off for safety." Su Lang suddenly realized, pondering for a moment before responding, there's no rush to accelerate. I'm not inclined to salvage today. The two women had no objections and continued to eat quietly. Suddenly, a faint rumbling sound echoed from afar. Su Lang's ears perked up as he seized the binoculars and hurried to the stern of the boat. Tang Yao and Zhao Yuman, possessing only ordinary physical capabilities, had yet to hear the ominous sound, their expressions blank. What is happening? Tang Yao asked. In the distance, a dark spot appeared on the water's surface. Breaking through the drizzling curtain of rain, the spot gradually enlarged. A ship is approaching, Su Lang announced, lowering the binoculars and turning to warn them. Upon his gentle alert, the two women immediately adopted serious expressions. Tang Yao silently moved aside to don her bulletproof gear and check her firearm. Zhao Yuman grabbed a bulletproof helmet and proceeded to the helm. This was the tacit division of labor that had developed among the trio after their previous encounters with vessels. Su Lang took on the role of the main force. Tang Yao provided cover fire, while Zhao Yuman acted as the substitute and steered the boat. Their performance satisfied Su Lang as he continued to gaze into the distance. Gradually, the approaching vessel drew nearer. Through the binoculars, Su Lang could barely discern the outline of the ship. Somewhat familiar? Su Lang's brow furrowed slightly. It resembled Chun Jia's large vessel. Tang Yao remarked. If it's Professor Wang and the others, there shouldn't be any issues. Su Lang remained silent, a nagging sense of unease lingering in his heart. Among Professor Wang's group, they could hardly move swiftly while caring for one another. The fact that they could catch up to him now meant they must have been accelerating through the night. Do not let your guard down, Su Lang cautioned in a low voice. As he spoke, he retrieved his sniper rifle from the spatial realm. Tang Yao pressed her lips together, tightening her focus as she gripped her submachine gun. Despite any doubts they harbored about Su Lang, they would unconditionally trust him. Rumble. The engine's roar intensified as Su Lang raised the sniper rifle to take aim. Through the scope, the ship's body gradually came into focus, confirming it was undoubtedly Chun Jia's vessel. Slowly scanning the bow, he noticed a figure keeping watch. Could it be that a sea monster was pursuing them from behind? Hence the need for an accelerated escape? He speculated while keeping his gaze fixed through the scope. Minutes passed. The two boats were now less than 100 meters apart. Su Lang, with the sniper rifle, could clearly see the deck of the other ship, where the figure of the watcher had multiplied. Although he could not name him, Su Lang instantly recognized him as the man trailing behind Chun Jia. Upon noticing Su Lang's vessel, the man turned and retreated into the cabin. His heart eased slightly. If he was not mistaken, it indicated they were indeed being pursued by something. The large ship adjusted its course slightly, accelerating to overtake them. Su Lang stood at the edge of the boat, clad in bulletproof gear. Thanks to modifications, the ship had been raised, allowing him to see the large vessel without craning his neck as he had to do with the raft. A few people appeared on the opposite deck, and though they were clad in raincoats, Su Lang instantly recognized Professor Wang among them. Professor Wang, it's good to see you again. The figure stepped forward, scrutinizing Su Lang with a puzzled expression before hesitantly inquiring, Su Lang, how has your raft transformed into this? Hearing Professor Wang's voice, Su Lang smiled in relief. I made a few adjustments. Shifting his tone, he asked the elder, Professor Wang, why the rush? Where's Chinjia? The response was abrupt, followed by a hoarse and urgent shout that echoed across the water. Run. Chapter 63. Bullets cannot harm? As the shout rang out, the air suddenly thickened. Su Lang stood in stunned silence. Run? As his brows gradually furrowed, he awaited his response. In the next moment, the sound of slicing wind roared towards him. A heavy claw was hurled in his direction, crashing through the deck with a resounding crack and firmly wedging itself into the ship's edge. The chain behind the claw immediately tautened, emitting an excruciating grinding noise as it gradually pulled the two vessels closer. Su Lang raised his sniper rifle, the scope just aligning on the opposite side when he witnessed an elder being kicked to the ground by a nearby assailant. Without a moment's hesitation, he swung the rifle, and a deafening bang echoed as the assailant's body was torn apart by the shot. Amidst the chaos, a figure burst forth from the cabin, racing towards them with remarkable speed, clearly no ordinary person. The proximity made it difficult for the sniper's scope to lock on. Su Lang contemplated retrieving his rocket launcher, but hesitated for an instant before drawing out his weapon. Despite the elder's desperate shout to run, though it bore little practical effect, Su Lang felt the weight of the elder's goodwill. He could not dismiss the situation. A single rocket could obliterate the elder along with the threat. The gunfire erupted, yet the ensuing scene sent chills down everyone's spine. The figure ahead did not flinch. With a thunderous roar, it charged through the hail of bullets towards the ship's edge. The metallic clang of bullets striking the figure echoed. as if they were rebounding off metal rather than flesh. Ha! What does it matter if you have guns? Can you harm me? The figure stood at the edge of the ship, laughing maniacally. Witnessing this, Su Lang's frown deepened. Was this extraordinary power? The gunfire continued to erupt around him as Tang Yao, albeit a fraction too late, finally opened fire on the figure at the bow. The incessant clang of bullets rang out, yet the figure remained unmoved, akin to an immovable stone in water. Perhaps growing weary of the assault, he turned and bellowed. Hurry up, move faster, or when I return, you shall regret it. The man, filled with irritation, had initially planned to use the elder as a distraction, waiting for the ships to draw closer to strike. However, he did not anticipate the elder's betrayal nor the ferocity of the firepower from the opposing side. Su Lang decisively stowed his weapon, flipping his right hand as the Tang Dao materialized, firmly grasped. The intentions of the adversary were evident. They awaited the chain to draw the ships even closer. Awakened? An inexplicable yearning surged from the depths of Su Lang's being, a longing for battle, for blood, for the power of the abyss. His thoughts spiraled wildly, and an involuntary grin spread across his face. He slightly bent his knees, lowering his body gradually. In the next heartbeat, he propelled himself with a powerful leap. The entire ship tilted violently under his weight, startling Zhao Yuman into a scream. Su Lang's figure vanished from the deck, soaring like a cannonball towards the opposite deck. This was the first time he fully unleashed his 160-point physical prowess. A euphoric sensation coursing through him. A distance of over 10 meters, a feat unattainable even by elite athletes with a running start, was easily conquered by his standing jump. In his line of sight, the bullet-absorbing man looked up, and Su Lang could clearly see the shock in his wide eyes. With both hands gripping the knife, he descended from the air, unleashing a thunderous strike. "Abeo, be careful. This kid has awakened," the man shouted, suddenly leaping backward. Su Lang's strike met empty air, and just as fatigue threatened to overtake him, he felt a primal instinct of danger. In a flash, he rolled to the left. Bang! A gunshot rang out, leaving a bullet hole where he had just stood. Out of the corner of his eye, he caught a glimpse of a figure retreating behind a wooden crate. A wave of dread washed over him. He hadn't expected another adversary to have been lying in wait. The gunfire erupted again, and he knew without looking that Tang Yao had taken action. The hail of bullets forced the figure behind them to cower, unable to raise his head. At that moment, the elder's voice rang out once more. "Su Lang, be cautious. The stone tiger's awakening grants him metallic skin." The old man's warning fell on deaf ears as the stone tiger roared, charging towards the elder. Su Lang swiftly stepped in front of the elder, wielding the Tang Dao with fervor. The clash resounded like the tolling of a great bell as the stone tiger crossed his arms, bracing for the blow. Sparks flew as he staggered back, momentarily losing his footing. Su Lang turned expressionlessly, positioning the elder behind him. Truly formidable. The force transmitted through the Tang Dao was immense. He raised his left hand, a grenade appearing in his palm, and with a swift motion, he pulled the pin and hurled it toward the crate. This opponent, though impervious to his blade, lacked both speed and strength, presenting minimal threat. He resolved to eliminate the sniper first. Witnessing this, the stone tiger's eyes widened in fury. "Abeo!" he roared, charging forward. Su Lang gripped his knife as if to fell a tree, unleashing all his might. The Tang Dao carved an arc through the air. Boom! The explosion resonated simultaneously with the sound of metal colliding. Shards of wood flew as a bloodied figure was propelled by the shockwave, landing in the floodwaters. The stone tiger, still shielding his head, was caught off guard by the force of the blow, lifted off the ground, and sent crashing back. Su Lang's expression remained stoic, though the desire within him simmered more fervently. The man across from him not only possessed high defense, but also extraordinary strength. Had Su Lang not awakened, even his 110 points of power might have been insufficient to overcome him. Absorb the power of the abyss. Metallic skin? His voice carried a hint of curiosity. "I wonder, have you reached the second tier?" The stone tiger, unfazed, rose, his fists colliding with a sharp clang. "I'll tear you apart," he roared, charging forward once more. Although Abeo's sudden demise had shocked him, the stone tiger's formidable defense unleashed his ferocity. "Just the right moment to test my self-developed technique," Su Lang murmured. Before he could finish, his form surged forward, swift enough to leave a blur in his wake, charging at the stone tiger. The stone tiger's pupils constricted as he instinctively sensed the impending danger. With a primal roar, he exuded an even more intense metallic sheen, heedlessly hurtling towards Su Lang. At some point, Su Lang's Tang Dao had vanished from his hands. This time, he intended to fight without it. Just as the stone tiger barreled towards him, Su Lang's right hand shot out, not in a punch, but with fingers splayed, pressing firmly against the stone tiger's metallic visage. He grasped the head tightly, lifting him effortlessly off the ground. Zzz. Chapter 64. Steer the wheel. The stone tiger's feet left the ground. As he realized and attempted to break free, it was too late. A searing silver light pierced his eyes, causing his entire body to shudder. Zzz. A wild torrent of electricity surged from Su Lang's palm, emitting a cacophony akin to a chorus of birds, violently flooding into the stone tiger's skull, the silver arcs bursting forth from the back of his head, resembling a cruel and dazzling firework display. Encountering me,